Hi, everybody, and welcome to round 8 of a very exciting Chessable British Championship. Wide open. There's lots of people, I think 5 people sharing the lead at the moment. So let's go straight into the games.
So let's have a look. Let me just switch to my tab and we'll have a look. So we start off with, well, should we maybe start off with the shock of the round then, I suppose, because that's maybe the most important thing that John Ems has already won against Danny Gormally.
Yes, miniature. Let's see how it went.
A little miniature there. Let's have a look how the opening went. So e4, c5, c3, d6, d4, knight f6, bishop d3. I used to play this as black, actually. It's I mean, the c3 Sicilian is quite a nasty choice when you really want to win as black. And yeah, this is one of the ways that you can try and well, keep play on the board, really. But it's I always found that there were a couple of lines that were really nice, and there were other lines that basically you said, well, I'd rather not actually play those. And yeah, Danny plays.
I'm trying to remember. I should probably know this, but does John normally do c3 Sicilian?
John's played the c3 Sicilian for a very long time. Yeah. It's I've had games in the c3 Sicilian against him. So I mean, I don't really know. I mean, obviously John's not a really active player anymore, but you know, he's got certain staples of his repertory. c3 Sicilian. Also, he used to play the Sozin 6 bishop c4 and against the Najdorf as well. There's these sort of things like that he knows very, very well. Yeah. You know, so. And g6, yeah. I mean, they often go knight bd7 in this position, actually to avoid what John did here. So g6 takes, and then e5. Then in principle, you know, this is just ending up rather nice for white because you're just going to play f2 to f4 and knight f3. Pardon me, and you've just got a solid position. I mean, it's just like a very good modern or perk, you know, basically. So now I don't know whether this was Danny's preparation because I've never seen this before. C4.
Right.
I mean, I suppose
I knew it almost instantly. It must be his prep.
Okay, so so queen a4 check, bishop d7, queen c4, and actually, yeah, I mean, you know, potentially you sort of think there might be something in it there, but you know, of course, John's playing very quickly as well. It has to be said. So knight g4, and then f4, and here Danny thought for a long time, which is, I guess, slightly strange moment to think a long time when you've just sacrificed a pawn, really. But I don't know whether f4 was something new from John or whatever.
I don't know, but f4 was the top choice of the Chess24 computer, so it would definitely, if you looked at it at all, that would be something that would be, that would be something that would occur to you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's so Danny played knight c6, and I mean, you know, it's an interesting line actually. I mean, there definitely is compensation here for the pawn. The only problem is that if it doesn't quite work out, then, you know, basically you've just given white an extra pawn with this lovely center. You know, the pawns on e5 and f4, so you've got to develop something pretty quickly. I'm guessing that bishop c2 is a nice move here. You're getting out of the way of these of any little tricks like knight e5, and also giving the queen, you know, space to come back, really, which is quite nice. And then queen b6 was played, which looks natural, of course, looking at that f2 square. Queen e2. And now something that I do need to think a little bit about, because I'm not really I don't completely understand everything here. So yeah, I mean, of course, you know, white's just aiming to go knight f3 and h3. I mean, so something drastic has got to start happening for black somehow. So Danny played knight takes h2 here, and the idea, of course, is that if rook takes h2, then queen takes g1 check. Now, the key point in there is that if bishop e3, presumably, then queen takes b2 is quite strong. You know, so that is obviously quite decent. But what John did was the very clever move bishop b3. He thought for 20 minutes over, in actual fact. And well, unless Chess24 is deceiving us, then Danny actually resigned in this position. So what is the reason for this? Well, actually, I mean, of course, the point about bishop b3 is not the only move that would do that in actual fact, but the point of bishop b3 is that it covers the b2 square. So that's very, very important. Now, what that means is that bishop e3 is the threat. Bishop e3 attacking the queen on b6, obviously defending the knight on g1, and it means that the rook h2 will then be possible afterwards. So that's very, very important. And the big problem is that if you go knight g4, which is probably more or less the only move that you've got, then there's e6.
Yeah, interfering. So the knight's not defended anymore.
Yeah, and there's no way that you can actually get out of that, because if you go f takes e6, I go queen takes g4.
Yeah.
And if you go bishop takes e6, then I simply take on e6. And if you go f takes e6, then queen takes g4. And white is a piece for a pawn up, but yeah, I mean it's a pretty good piece, really. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, you might carry on for a while, because the white king is sort of caught in the center still. So, but you know, I can understand that Danny was quite upset at having somehow having missed this. But I'm just trying to think whether there's any possibility that that black could have something else. The problem is, if you go something like bishop g4. I can just go queen f2, and then this knight is trapped on h2, so it's not really going to help. Yeah, weird, really. But yeah, bishop b3 is a very nice move, really good move there, and just refutes everything, it seems like, unless I'm missing something obvious. Yeah, I just can't see it. I don't know what. I'm not quite sure what Danny.
Yeah, you know what though? There was one. I was looking at it sort of while they were playing, and it was like that move. Was it that move? That was the only move where. No, maybe it was the move before, and it was you had to find the right queen e2. Yeah, that was the only move that kept white winning, but white was winning.
Yeah. No, it looks like yeah. But I mean, I think this bishop c2 queen e2 maneuver was really good from John. Really that was quite nasty, and yeah, maybe you're just a pawn up now. I mean, maybe that's just the point, and it's just already gone quite wrong for black, and that what you should be trying to do. I mean, maybe you should just be trying to play. I have no idea really, but something like h5 or whatever, and then you're just going to go bishop g7. But it's it's not going to be pleasant. I mean, that's. Obviously not what you're looking for from the opening, but maybe you can sort of get away with it somehow.
Hi, Rock Troll and Ocelot and Kevin Winter and Skittles Attack.
My goodness me! So, but that's dramatic. That's really quite dramatic. So that means that John is now actually John was on 4.5.
Half a point behind Danny, so he's gone to 5.5 out of 8. So he'll still be off the lead, because some of the higher boards will win.
Exactly, and but this kind of unfortunately this rather messes up Danny's. He was on 5 out of 7, so a win would have been still chances, but now not, unfortunately. But just goes to show. I mean, it's quite tough to you can play these creative lines like this, but probably unless you've got them completely worked out, it's kind of it's just a massive gamble. I mean, it was very interesting idea, but. Probably just a little
actually,
bit
you're right with the word gamble, because I know Tom Villiers did some kind of gamble, I would say, line a few days ago, and it did pay off. That the person didn't defend properly, but yeah, John just found the right moves, and it looked like John kind of knew the start of it anyway, because he was playing very fast.
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest, especially when you play a line like this against somebody like John. I mean, c4. he sort of got the confidence that, well, I've never had this before in my long experience or whatever. So, it can't be good. There's going to be a refutation somewhere, and clearly, I think what John did very well there was he just, he went for it. He went for the sharpest line and just decided to look for the refutation. And I think, F4, he played very quickly, knight C6, and then he got down to some thinking, but I think he was, he did it from a feeling of confidence, knowing the opening, knowing what you can get away with, that he would find the refutation. And well, it turned out perfectly there. So, wow, that's quite an early result there. That's, but okay, that means that John moves to 5.5 out of 8, but probably a bit too far back, I guess, to really fight the top spot. But well, we're going to see how that's going to happen. Let's go now to the top board. Matthew Wadsworth, Guildford Junior. He's not a junior anymore, really. He's a university.
I just called them all juniors. I got pulled up on it the other day. It was like, how old are they? I think John Spillman, who was saying, well, how old actually are they? And they were like 20, 21. And I said that's junior, but I suppose it's not strictly junior in chess terms.
Indeed.
It would be junior if you were bridge players. Then you're junior till you're 26. So.
Okay. Yeah. It's well, I've seen Matthew's played for Guildford for a very, very long time, and seen him coming from sort of a 2000 strength junior to to a strong IM. So it's it's nice to see when that happens. But I think he's finished university now, hasn't he, Matthew? I think he has, and he was sort of going to decide what to do next, whether to play a bit of chess for a while or go for whatever else, either Carroll University or a job. But doing very well here. He's a good, solid player, very tough defender, and solid openings, knows his stuff quite well. So not at all easy to shift. And Nick as black. This is reasonably tough one for him. So let's have a look how the game went. It's a Reti.
Nick's also Guildford, right?
Nick is also Guildford as well.
Right, teammates.
So bishop b2, knight d7, g3, knight f6, bishop g2, e6, castles, bishop d6, d3. So a good old-fashioned Reti there with double fianchetto.
Take it from Kevin Winter. Working life is long enough. Play chess while you can have a break.
Well, I do agree with that, actually. I think that I was a professional for quite a while then, between 1990 and 1999, but not for too long. But I do feel that all that the concentrated effort that I gave as a professional to chess, I've had a lot of profit and pleasure from it in the ensuing years. So I think it's certainly enriched my life as an amateur. Having put in all that. So I do.
I'm not sure if Kevin means play professionally, though. I think he's saying play for fun.
Yeah, no, it's true. But I think certainly when you're young, you could definitely take a year out and give chess a go and really get into it and enjoy it, and not with the idea of becoming professional for a while, but just just to really give a concentrated effort to chess and see how much you can how far you can go with that. I would recommend it to anyone. To be honest, if you manage to have the financial means to do that, that's really really nice. So rook e8, e4, e5. This is pretty standard stuff, actually. Knight h4, queen c7. I've had a few games with black with this. White always feels that White's making a bit of progress, getting the knight into f5 and all that. But black remains very solid, and it's really a question of getting this bishop on h5 somehow into play. And in principle, if you could move this knight out of the way, then move the knight to d7 and get in f6 and bishop f7, then you're nicely organized. And the games can turn sometimes because if black gets itself organized, then afterwards you're getting a5 to a4, you're getting some queenside play. So pretty interesting stuff. a4, a5. Interesting choice there. Difficult to say. A4 stops black expanding on the queen side, but black does get the b4 square for the bishop, which can be a little bit irritating. Knight e3, takes. Bishop b4, g4 played, bishop g6, knight f5. So yeah, I suppose white's wasted a little bit of time, but has forced black to take on e4 there. Rook d8, queen e2. And yeah, I mean, we've got a very typical Reti position here. And yeah, got to try and work out what you're going to do here.
Maybe white's knight will come to c4.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely one place where it can go. From that point of view, I mean, knight b6 is quite interesting for black. It's not normally where you put the knight, but it does feel vaguely tempting just to stop this knight coming to c4. And of course, you're also, you know, attacking here as well. That's one idea. And then the idea would be that you try and go knight fd7 maybe and just f6 and get this bishop active. Another idea would be to play knight c5 because white's wasted a little bit of time here. So it's not completely clear. And then the question is,
go around via f3 and h4.
Yeah, that's possible too. The point is, when you go knight c5 in this position, then you're attacking the pawn on e4. So, you know, if you go knight f3, then, well, at least you've got to consider knight takes e4. Interesting thing about knight c5 would be, because you've kind of got some threats here. I mean, if you go rook d1, I could even consider swapping everything off and grabbing this pawn on e4. I mean, that's not necessarily, you know, winning or better or anything, because yeah, I mean, there's you open up the lines of the white bishops as well, but it's definitely an idea. I suppose the main thing that you might have to consider after knight c5 is c3 here.
Yes. Bishops.
Yeah, but it's kind of, it's not totally clear because well, I mean, knight d3 is always one possibility. C takes b4, knight takes b2. Which is not stupid because, you know, I'm coming back to d3 and then going knight f4 afterwards. Obviously, if I can get into f4, that's quite a nice square. And I've also got rook d2, queen d2, knight b3 as well as an idea. That looks a little bit less good because I guess I can just go queen d1 in this position. And then after knight a1, I take on b4.
Yeah.
But maybe after c3, I could just do this move knight d3 and I mean, I think you have to take the bishop. Otherwise, I'm just going knight f4, bishop c5. You know, so takes here, and then yeah, kind of interesting what can happen. I mean, b takes a5 maybe. I mean, if knight d3, I'll go knight c4 and try and claim that. Okay, you've got the f4 square, but I've got I've got a pawn and a solid knight. That's probably true, actually. But maybe I could just go queen takes a5 in this position, and we're hitting that knight on there. So maybe knight c4 takes, and as always, everything always ends up as a draw. That would be, well, would white be? Well, I don't know. No, it's probably just about even, really. Maybe rook d2 or something like that. Probably fairly even, but. Yeah, knight c5 is definitely a possibility. I mean, you could just play it quieter and just go knight f8 and just say, I'm going to try and do that. Then you've got to watch out for knight c4, because if you try and go knight e6, then we've got bishop takes c5, which is annoying. And then the question is, you know, would you do something like even b5, for example?
b5. So
that's not stupid. That's not stupid at all, actually. I think we need to take this one off because if I go knight e3, I'll probably have rook d2 here, which is kind of nasty. And if queen f3, I go knight e6. I've got knight g5, knight f4, knight d4. Don't like that very much. But I think if I take off and then I go here, then if you go rook d2, I've got queen takes b5 as a possibility. And I've also got some access to d5. It's all getting quite sharp. I don't know. I mean, you know, if you're looking at what I would want to play, then knight e6 would be the move. Looking either for knight d4 or knight f4. If you go queen b5, maybe I go knight d4 like this. It's sharp. It's really sharp. I don't know. You know, it's but yeah, possible as well. I mean, I could also consider knight fd7. That would be the idea, to just play positionally with f6 and bishop f7. But I think your pieces are going to get a bit awkward here, because there's, if I just go rook d1 or something, I'm getting into d6 or something. So I think probably if you go after knight c4, I think you probably have to play actively with b5. I think. I don't think you'd really want to. I was getting distracted by maybe another idea, but I was wondering about knight e6, bishop e5, knight f4 as an idea.
Yeah.
Obviously, you wouldn't mind if you got the dark squared bishop, you'd be happy. And I was just wondering whether something like this might be interesting, but I think probably you've just got queen f3 in this position, at the very least. And if rook e5, I've got queen takes f4 here. So
this is nice for white, right?
Yeah, it's nice for white, really. So I mean, knight b6 I think is kind of a safe thing, keeping the knight out of c4 there, and preparing. If you go knight f3, then maybe I just go knight d7 here, and then want to go f6 and bishop f7. Feels like my pieces have got enough space there. Knight c5 would be tempting me enormously. I think I always like playing as aggressively and concretely as possible, and knight f8 is a possible as well. Although, yeah, I don't think that white's going to be worse or anything with lines like this. And again, the idea is if knight f3, I could go knight fd7 again, and then try and get my knight into f4. I'm just wondering, one thing that you should never forget, of course, is the captures. So can you do something like bishop d2 and do something? I always forget captures. I never it's somehow ingrained in me that you've got to always look for something a bit more subtle than the obvious capture. But no, this is nothing at all. Bishop f5 is not totally stupid. I mean, it's never stupid if you can get moves like e4 in, because sometimes you can get some good counterplay. But it's a bit of a shame, really, to take on f5, because probably when the g pawn comes there, you can't really get a knight into f4. It's a bit more difficult. So this is a tough one. I can understand that Nick's having a good think here. I mean, to be honest, another idea might be to play b5 immediately. Not completely stupid either. The point is that
take it, right? Yeah.
You can't because there's
take it once. Maybe.
Yeah, take it once, but then we've got queen takes c2 in the mix. What you could do, I suppose, is to go c3. But I'm sort of thinking like a pawn sacrifice, really. So bishop f8 takes, and then knight c5, or even take off first and knight c5. I don't know. It's a lot of things. A lot of things hanging in places.
Oh, take on d2.
Well, it's white's move. It's white's move. So
go.
Not clear. I mean, everything that white does has got a slight defect. I mean, e4 is hanging. We've got knight d3. b3 is weak as well, but a5 is weak as well. I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, it's all quite possible. I mean, it's a complicated position, this. So I can imagine Nick's thinking, and what he does really is, I think, it's really going to determine the shape of the game. I mean, as you can see, you've got some quite sharp variations that you can play, and you've got some quieter ones as well. And I suppose it really depends what Nick is going for there. But he's been thinking for 19 minutes, which is obviously quite a long.
Yeah, so actually, he's running comparatively low on time, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I think, to be honest, it's one of those things that, but I always felt that, if I spend a long time on a move, then I should play the sharp line that I've been looking at. The worst thing in the world you can do is to spend lots of time looking at a sharp move and then play something quiet.
The trouble is, I spend a long time looking at it, work out it doesn't work, and then play it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you should have a decent idea that it's sort of okay, likely workable before you start. But I think just from a general psychological point of view, playing a sharp line after analyzing it is much better than playing a quiet line, because once you make the move on the board, you suddenly discover new things that you hadn't seen before. So I would really. I made it a bit of a rule for myself that if I spend some time, play the sharp move. Don't chicken out of it really. So I would expect Nick really to do that, unless he's just not sure at all about it and he's just really trying to orientate himself for the possibilities. But I would have thought that that either you're going to play knight b6 or you're going to play one of the sharper ones really.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the next game because we've got plenty of interesting ones. Harry Grieve, which looks like some sort of trompe. Yes. It's not quite a trompe. It's a torre rather, but sort of like a sedate trompe. So and David went for the pawn grab, which is quite interesting there. I thought this was supposed to be very, very risky, but bishop d3, d5, it looks all right for black. Just obviously you're going to have to do a little bit of surviving, but of course, if you can get away with it, then you just end up wrecking white's pawn structure. But bishop b5 check played. Obviously, you kind of really like to play a move like c4, but of course, c4, but queen d3, of course. This is the point of going queen a3. So we'll actually have to say that queen a3 is a slightly unusual one. You normally go queen c3 just to really hang as tight as possible to the bishop and also stop the pawn from ever moving forwards. But bishop b5 check played, bishop d7. How quickly did David play this? Reasonably quickly. So Harry too, though. Harry whacked out these moves, but Harry's a good blitz player, so you never never quite sure really what he knows and what he doesn't. But you did think 4 minutes over rook takes b5, so probably he was out of theory there. And c4. Well, I think as white, you'd be reasonably happy with this. I think.
So Harry, I think he's become an IM already, hasn't he? With this,
indeed, yeah.
Tournament with the draw yesterday, and then if I think Loz was saying in the chat yesterday, he needs after that another 1.5 out of 2 for a GM norm.
Oh, okay, wow, brilliant. That's a lot of things to juggle really. Your IM norm, GM norm, British Championship. It's
Yeah. I guess he just needs to play for as many points as he can get and see what it gives.
Exactly. I think that's how you have to do it. Really, and national championships are always a bit special from that point of view. But this is quite pleasant for white, I think. Bishop g7, knight takes c4, queen a6, queen b3, knight d7, c5 looks vaguely interesting there. Oh, knight d7 is happening. Yeah, I don't know. How else that? I could just go rook b5 in this position. That's why I was just wondering.
Oh, with the fork, yeah.
Yeah, there's a fork there, so it might just be an opportunity to keep your pawn structure together. I'm not sure. Just occurred to me when I saw it. So knight d7, d takes c5, castles, and now you can't go rook takes b7, of course, because of knight takes c5.
Yeah.
So that's quite a clever defense from black. So rook d1.
Although, what about the could he have done it the previous move?
I could have gone rook b7 on this move.
This one, yeah.
Yeah. Question is, what would black have done there? Interesting. Yeah, actually, that looks quite. That looks rather awkward, actually. Is there a clever way of doing this? Nothing that really makes me light up with enthusiasm, I have to say. Maybe, something like knight b6, which would be rather nice, but meets with knight d6 check, which would be rather unpleasant. Castle queenside is for the connoisseur, but not a serious move. C takes d4 would look to try and get in knight c5, but
test it one, I suppose.
Well, I mean, it's way too risky anyway. I mean, e takes d4 would be possible, but I mean, even something like, I mean, you could even do a check and go knight d6 check, for example, which would be quite unpleasant.
So Darren's saying rook d8.
Yeah, rook d8 will probably have to be the move, but it feels like I should have something here.
Hello, Sarum.
Feels like I should have something, but I don't see it immediately, but still. Maybe you are threatening knight b6. It's possible. Maybe this move now is going to be a bit of an annoying threat. Yeah, don't know. Maybe it's rook c7, maybe? I don't know. You can just go c takes d4, I suppose. I could have knight takes d4 though, knight c6. I'm not sure. Rook c7, maybe? I mean, it does look like it should be quite good, actually, for white this, really. But it took 8 minutes over d takes c5, so I think it was probably going for something even better. But rook fd8 here, and yeah, it's a lot of weak pawns ready for white, and yeah, black's king is safe now. So yeah, actually, yeah, I don't know why. The only thing that that could be inconvenient, pardon me, is the queen on a6. But I guess that after rook d6, we've got knight takes c5. Is that working? Oh, that's not clear. I thought it was working, but because I can go rook takes d8, check takes rook c5, and well, I'm not sure. Queen takes a2. Actually, is there even a way to defend against that?
No.
Well,
Wait, is this they could have had this?
No. This is if I was looking at rook d6,
right?
Just trying to trap this black queen. That was, but yeah. I'm just wondering whether this is actually, it's potentially quite serious. I mean, I can go queen b4. You know, sorry, I was getting a bit distracted. I can go queen b4 because if you go rook d1 check, knight there, and then do something like queen e2, I've got rook c8 check. That was just what I was thinking about. But,
right. Yeah.
After queen b4, I could just go rook d1, knight e1, and bishop f8, which is rather, well, rather evil.
You do the same thing, right? Rook c8.
Yeah, then I've got rook takes c1. Oh no, sorry, it's not even attacked. Crumble, really, Matthew. Good lord. Yeah, that's rather depressing. So maybe, well, I could go bishop f8. I could go bishop f8 straight away, which maybe is evil enough. That's probably evil enough, I have to say. And would there be something even better? I'd like to have some gorgeous deflecting thing, but I don't see it, unfortunately. I mean, it's possible I could try a5. That might be possible. Although rook takes a5, I'm not completely sure about that. Somehow also getting. I think bishop f8 would be good. The alternative would be I could go queen c3 again with the idea of all this, but then I can just go rook d1 and knight e2, queen e2 rather, and here I can go here, and that's going to be good. So probably, yeah. I wonder whether Harry intended rook d6 actually, because that doesn't look bad. I mean, but yeah, certainly knight c5. I think knight c5 would just be better for black here. So we went knight d4, and now knight e5, rook c1, and well, yeah. I mean, white's still got some pressure on the b7 pawn, so that's yeah. Good. It's just that you sort of feel, you know, with these sort of weaknesses somehow, and a slightly weak back rank as well. You know, you sort of think maybe something like rook c8. On the other hand, we do have rook a5 in this position.
Okay.
She's trapping the queen. So maybe
yes.
Okay. Maybe we need to. Maybe I need to be. You need to be a
Got
little
to
bit more
defend
careful.
that. Yeah.
I'm being. All right, then. What could we do? Oh, maybe this. Maybe this initiative is still going along.
It threats rook a5, so b6. You haven't got enough pieces on it. You can just take.
Well, to be honest, I am thinking of something like that because I mean you're going to liquidate on the queen side, and then maybe somehow get the a2 pawn. Just I was looking at knight c4 as well, but rook c4 is a little bit irritating because you're threatening rook a4 then.
Yeah.
I mean, I was wondering about knight c6. That's a possibility, just to you stop rook a5 in that way. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just moves like knight d6, for example. You're starting to get you a little bit worried then in that case, and I mean, I was even vaguely thinking about takes and knight d6 actually, and you've got queen e6 coming in and rook b7. I mean, there's quite a lot to do there. So, I mean, let's have a look at your move b6. So,
it seems to me white can just take it.
Could do c6 as well is maybe interesting, but okay, let's just do taking just to see the idea. I was wondering actually about going knight takes c4 here because the idea was to take, and then you'd have this attack on a2. But
okay.
I think we can do an intermezzo with b7, which is rather unpleasant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to take on there afterwards. So that's not good. So I will take on here. Now, if you go rook b6, of course, I'll go queen a2 because I've opened up the a file. But you were going to play knight takes b6. Yeah, I'm afraid that's just looking like a pawn, really, isn't it? It's just there's just not much. It's not much you can say about it. So that is not right. Yeah, knight c6, knight d6. Yeah, I've maybe just got this position wrong. Maybe this is actually just still a very promising initiative for white.
Yeah.
No. I think it's correct. It's I was sort of thinking that.
See his game the other day, Matthew. His game against Danny was really nice. A couple of rounds ago.
Yeah, I saw it. Gorgeous game. Probably the game of the tournament, I think, so far, maybe, or certainly it's, deserves certainly in the mix there because it was really a very nice game. All right, well, that's very interesting. Lots of interesting games today. Oh, we've got Keith against Richard Pert.
Yes.
And Keith's played the didn't play the
French. I know. I was surprised he didn't play Caracan. He played French.
Well, I mean, Keith has done the French. He's played the Fort Knox, which I think he was probably aiming for in this game. I think probably explains why Rich played e5, going for the advance. But the advance, it's got a lot of attention recently. Both in Gawain's book, the Coffee House repertoire, and in Ginger GM's and Richard Palliser's Grandmaster Gambits, both of which I think are really good books. They've been looking at stuff with the advance and sacrifices of the pawn on d4 actually, so quite decent. Keith plays for a slightly more old-fashioned line, which is just with a quick knight e7 to f5, and Richard plays knight a3 to c2, which is quite a good reaction.
Because Richard's been playing some funny openings as well. He did this one with g5 the other day, like for black, just a very early g5, like I was on about moves.
Oh yeah, that was in the Reti, wasn't it? The one we saw together. Yeah, that's right. It's this is quite nice. In principle, this is a nice position for white. Pawns on d4, e5, and solid. And Keith goes quite aggressive here. He plays h5 and then g5.
Yep.
So I think that means that Keith, wasn't particularly happy about just carrying on normally. Then h3 to stop that, bishop d7 and g3. And yeah, which is just looking to go king f1, king f1 to g2, castle artificially, so not to give black the chance to go g4 too early. So a5 played by Keith. Now, interesting, I mean, you could play a3, but I mentioned that Keith was going to play a4 maybe and try and get the knight into a5, b3. Always a double-edged one, that one, but Richard played king f1 simply, knight b4, and then took with a bishop on b4, which is quite interesting. A takes b4, queen d2. Rook g8, e3, so getting rid of this knight. Very interesting play. Queen b6 and now g4 from Richard. So yeah, I mean, I would have thought really that that white should be quite a bit better here. I mean, the tough thing for black is really where to put the king.
Why is white so much better? Because like black's, I know black bishop is cramped, but he does have the bishop pair.
Well, he has the bishop pair, but he's not really going to be able to do much with it, I think. And I'm just not quite sure where the black king is going to go. And we've also got this long-term weakness on g5, really. You know, so yeah. If you take off, then white's got the h file. If you go h4, then the white king's beautifully safe, and this pawn is weak. And I just, yeah, I'm just a little bit nervous about it. I mean, you know, you're missing a knight really to be able to do stuff with black, and I think the bishops are going to be a bit. I think the bishops are a little bit not the right pieces for this type of position.
Yeah.
And maybe you can castle queenside, but that, you know, white will always have some ideas with a3, and yeah, it's going to be a bit of a toughie for you to decide exactly how to defend that. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I do think that that I would rather be white in this position, but it's very complicated, right? I mean, so you know, still all to play for, but in general, I think that white is a fair amount better here. Let's have a look. This was Ems Gourmali. We've got Brandon Clark against Jonah Willow, and played quite a trendy line of the Taimanov. You just see a Sicilian type structure with the queens off, and you know exactly what what white has played, you know, without even looking at it. It's this queen f3 to g3 line. So weird line, but it's the line that's favoured by the engines, by many engines anyway, not all of them. Stockfish likes g4 an awful lot, and there's a recent game in the Computer World Championships between Komodo and Shredder, I think, where well, Shredder followed had a Stockfish book, I think, and followed the analysis for a very long time. But this is quite dangerous, g4. But queen f3 is favoured by a lot of other engines, and takes. And this ending is supposed to be just pleasantly better for white, really. But okay, you know, it's not so terrible. But it does take the fun out of playing the Sicilian. I think that's the main thing. So bishop b7, f3, knight e7 castles, knight c6, bishop e3, bishop b4, knight e2, f6, and g4. That's a nice thing about having the pawn on g3. You play it to g4, and then it's sort of keeping this one in check, and also this as well.
Yeah.
Knight e5, king b1. But I mean, you know, I don't consider this to be more than a small advantage for white. But it's more a way of playing, and more sort
Style,
of
isn't it?
denying black what he really wants. You know, I think that's the thing. So bishop b7, b3, just stopping the knight coming into c4. That's fair enough. Rook c8, bishop d4. Bishop b6, bishop e3, knight f7, knight f4. Bit of shuffling, really. Oh, okay. And now Brandon goes for something quite interesting, which is knight d3, rook c6, knight b2.
Another fianchettoed knight. There's been very many fianchettoed knights this week.
Yes, I guess the idea is to play c4 here, c4, a4, undermining the queen side. That's quite nice. Quite a nice idea. I don't know whether it's good or anything, but yeah, quite unusual. And I mean, maybe think that black could just go bishop c5 or something, and again, it shouldn't be this should be perfectly acceptable for black, but But it's
Yeah.
that sort of game, really, you know. So,
That's the bishop black wants to swap, isn't it? That the dark squared.
yeah, bishop
Every
a3
single
played.
pawn on the light square.
Bishop a3 played. Interesting. Well, that's stopping a4. That's one thing, and I suppose after c4, is black intending knight d6? I think this is the idea.
Okay.
So you're actually taking this one head on, which is quite nice, actually. Quite a good idea. If c takes b5, yeah, we could even go knight takes b5, you know, and threaten knight c3, force white to do this, which he really doesn't want to do. I mean, this knight is terrible. If we get a pawn on b5,
yeah,
even a takes b5 would be decent as well. So interesting. Bishop a3. That's a good move, I think. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what white should do now.
He might regret fianchettoing his knight.
He might regret fianchettoing his knight. It's true. Yeah. I certainly don't think that white's achieved a great deal so far, and I think that black's pretty fine.
Oh, unless you can go knight d3 and try and trap the bishop.
Yeah, it has just come from there, of course.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not sure would b4 succeed. I'm not sure really.
I don't think it would, because except you could so b4. If you're doing things like rook c3, we've got bishop c5.
Yeah, we'd probably go d6 and break open a5. I don't know. I'm not sure really. I'm not sure. It's a little bit tenuous, but I think black's doing quite nicely. I mean, that's definitely true. But okay, very interesting. Quite a theoretical game. Oh, good lord! Have they really only played 12 moves?
Yes.
Looks like Ezra Kirk against.
37 moves on move 5. That's a long time to spend on move 5.
Indeed. Oh, good lord! Yeah. So this was a c3 Sicilian. Maybe black got a little tricked. Oh, and knight a3 was probably something that confused black a little bit.
Yeah.
So played bishop g4, which looks quite normal. Bishop e2, knight f6. Castles e6, knight c2.
White go bishop c4. That must be what he was thinking about, right?
Could be.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Follow from Levitt.
Queen e4 check, maybe.
How are you, John?
But queen d6. So yeah, actually, the point of this one is that knight e3 is maybe a little threat, just to pick up the bishop pair.
Yeah.
So queen d6, d4, rook d8, bishop e3. Yeah, queen c7, queen e1. So yeah, both sides spending a lot of time here. Knight d5, bishop g5. In principle, black's doing okay here. I think black's done a pretty good job, and I guess that bishop e7 here would be quite reasonable. Just to swap off the bishops, and get a little knight f4 afterwards. Yeah. No, I think black's done it well. It's been slightly spend a lot of time in the opening there, but seems to be doing quite decently. Let's just move on a little bit further. It's William Claridge Hansen against Nigel Davies.
Okay. William's been having a nice tournament. He's had some good games.
Who's that? William, you said, or Nigel?
William, I was saying, has had some nice games. Yeah,
he's drew with John Ems, lost to Danny. Has won an awful lot of other games as well. So you'd expect really that this one, well, I'm saying you'd expect it that it would end as a draw. Actually, that's not so clear. How is black getting those pawns back? Maybe the best move would be knight c6 somehow. That might be a sensible idea. And you take this pawn on e5, and then you're going to go knight c4 after. And I mean, if you defend passively, maybe you can play king f7 or something like that.
Yeah.
But okay, I mean, I think you can definitely say that white's got an advantage here.
Knight e4 maybe.
Knight e4 is possible. I was also wondering about just checking and going rook b1 like this, just to get into b7. Yeah, I mean, white's definitely got an advantage here. So black's got a bit of a, yeah, got a little bit of a technical task to do. I think it should be still within the boundaries of a draw, but I'm not 100% sure now. Yeah, it's definitely, yeah, you definitely be very happy to be white and oh, we've got knight takes a2. Okay. Ah, wait a minute. Sorry, I'm being stupid because here we can take and then we can go knight c6.
Getting the pawn back.
Yeah, so it might be that everything's getting exchanged, although
fizzle out.
I could go rook d7. Well, maybe I can go knight b4 again still. Could go rook d6 maybe. It's possible. It's not so stupid. Because if I go king f7, the idea is I go rook a6. That's the point. And after knight b4, I take on a7 with check. So you don't. Yeah, I gain a tempo by losing a tempo somehow. So maybe this is quite decent. And we've got stuff like rook c8, of course. But this is not necessarily. I mean, rook d7. This looks like it could be quite awkward for black. Yeah, okay. So I mean, basically, white's got a draw at least, and but I think he's got a little bit more with rook d6 there. So yeah, have a look there, see how that's going. Let's just keep on going through the games because it's still quite. Ooh, what is this? James Jackson against John Merriman. John's had a good tournament, hasn't he?
He has. He's been right up there all the time. Yeah.
He let's have a look. Yeah, he's beaten some good players: Charlie Story, Peter Finn, Mark. Oh yeah, that game, of course, that was very sharp. Borner as well. Lost to Danny, and now playing James Jackson. Yeah, good tournament. So what is this? This is some sort of advanced French, isn't it? Oops, sorry.
This is a material imbalance here. This queen of James got the queen.
7 years. I just whizzed through the moves because I'm a little bit intrigued as to. There we are. This was exactly what I was talking about. These gambits. Gambiting the pawn on d4, and these ones have been. These are the things that
right.
GM and Richard Pallister and also Gawain have been looking at. The sad thing is that the system turns out that the engines think that sacrificing the d4 pawns is a pretty good thing to do against the French, but. And if we just looked at what Johnny Hector was doing all the time, we would have known. But of course, you always thought, come on, Johnny's crazy, So he's always hacking stuff. So it won't be good. It's just him doing this, But actually, it turns out that what he was doing had some real basis in actual fact. So knight d2, a6, knight b3, takes and. Yeah, I mean, these pawn attacks on d4, the big problem is, as long as white maintains the pawn on e5, d4 isn't interesting at all, but the pawn on e5 is difficult for black to develop the kingside pieces. And with the sacrifice of d4 and the open lines, it can get quite difficult for black to develop. So let's have a look what John came up with.
Knight a5.
Yeah, I mean, exchanging off minor pieces in principle is quite decent. He's spending a lot of time, though, here. So rook b1, queen c7 over 32 minutes. And after bishop b6, queen takes c3. So he really went for it. He spent 50 minutes in total on those two moves. And then after rook e3, bishop c5. So giving the queen away.
Ooh.
So rook b3 played. Bishop takes. Rook e2, bishop c6, rook b2, bishop c5.
So how is it's a bit confusing.
Well, I mean, the key thing is, point is black's, still struggling with this knight on g8, rook on h8. So essentially, if black can get free and play knight e7, then most likely he's going to be all right, doing quite well. But it's just that the pieces are really. The black pieces are really a little bit ropey, and
rook, bishop, and pawn for the queen.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I mean, well, the first thing you think of is bishop a6 simply, with the idea that if takes, I could go rook b8 check.
Baron just thinks the whole French defence is a win for white.
That's possible.
Pawn on e5 to go. Plucro agrees. Okay, the crowd likes white against the French.
But you've actually got this idea of going bishop a3 in this position.
Oh goodness. Okay, so then.
No, I can just go rook c2 then actually. And if you go bishop a4 to pin me, I'll go bishop b5 check to unpin me. So that's quite good. And if you go rook c2, I go queen c2 and knight e7 and
Bishop.
Wow, actually, I think even I've got takes on queen b3, picking up another pawn somehow.
Or queen a4.
I suspect that you're way too loose here, really. But okay, I mean, you could go b takes a6, rook b8, and king d7 maybe, and then just laugh at me.
Yeah.
I'm guessing something like queen d2. Rook c4. Oh, I've got stuff like queen a5 at some stage coming in. It's a little bit, feels like a little bit fraught, but I'm coming into d8 though. So yeah, I suspect really that black's position is just too loose, to be honest. I mean, I really I can't believe that black's holding this together. And certainly, if you can play a move like bishop takes a6, then that just saves an awful lot of an awful lot of trouble. I suppose, after bishop a6, I could just play knight e7 or something after takes castles. And it's not 100% trivial to win this, but in principle, white's doing quite well, I think.
Yeah, because you're good on material and you've got a passed a pawn.
Aye. No, should be good chances. Should definitely be good chances for white there. Max Turner against Nikolai Milchev. Looking quite nice for white. I mean, the Benko is always quite resilient, but in principle, you get an e4, e5 in, you're not really ever going to lose. Takes. You've just got this pressure against e5. I mean, black can maybe, neutralize it in some way, like this. And I'm running all over the place, by the way, because there's rook e8 here. But you can sometimes, you often end up getting neutralized in these sort of endings somehow. But it should be a slight advantage for white, I would have thought. But probably this idea is possible, isn't it? Takes, and then knight d6. I'm threatening knight c4, which is annoying. Maybe I go queen g5. Attacking that one. I mean, it's fairly even, but it's decent for black as well. It's just a complicated position, I think.
Yep.
Peter Wells against Dietmar Kolbus. That's a pretty odd position, actually.
Oh, look at the rooks on e1, f1. Peter's gonna. You'd think he's about to expand with like f4 and e4 and stuff, but he's just put his knight in front, so that can't be his plan.
Trying to understand why this rook is on a7. Actually, that's also.
On a7.
Yeah, it's a bit weird on there, isn't it? Let's have a look how the opening went. C4, e6. Plan. a6, slightly unusual. b3, b6. Okay, so we just end up in some sort of Queen's Indian. Just take to b2. It's quite interesting. I mean, pardon me. Normally the bishop gets played to f4 or something, but that's because black's forced this bishop to d2 with a bishop b4, bishop e7. So I guess b2 should be the correct square. Knight bd7, rook c1, bishop b6. But this doesn't look so bad for black, really. I mean, you're quite, sort of quite natural and logical how the position fits together really.
Yeah.
So knight h4 played g6.
What about h4 for white?
Could do. Not sure it does very much here though. Knight h4, g6, queen c2, g8, knight f3. Yeah, he forced the weakness now.
What do we know about Dietmar Kolbus?
He runs the Isle of Man team, doesn't he?
Yeah, I do associate him with that. Yeah,
it's that's sorry, just checking. I'm still in focus. Yeah, I think he runs the Isle of Man team.
Yeah.
Queen e7. This actually just looks quite decent for black. Rook a7.
Do you know what? He hasn't lost a single game yet this tournament.
He's very solid. He is very solid indeed. It's Rook a7. I'm wondering about that move.
Rook a7. He played it just without any provocation.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he was thinking about stuff like, being able to play d4 or something and have the bishop already protected. But it is quite a strange move. But probably, it's probably not going to affect anything. Black's doing sort of all right here, actually. Knight c4. Yeah, I mean, you're just going to bring the rook back to a8 to c8 probably. But I don't know. A little bit surprised about that rook a7 move. But yeah, in principle, I think Black's doing quite nicely here. It's the long diagonal is weak, but it's quite difficult for White to organise any big pressure there. So
yeah,
I think we just centralise the rooks again. Maybe start playing b5 or something, and yeah, should not be bad at all for Black actually. All righty. John Richardson against Ara Vamudan, Balaji.
Yes. So Ara Vamudan played this Alekines yesterday against Lanyao. The line with the sort of piece sack that you keep a piece sacked for a long time, and then it was a draw in the end, but Black was better for quite a lot of it.
Okay. Well, here Black seems quite a bit better. I think just the exchange up, basically. So
was it another Alekines today?
No, it was a G3 Grunfeld.
Okay.
So quite a topical line. B6. Never really sure about these lines for White. Always get very nervous. Never quite sure what I'm actually aiming to do here. Kingside looks very weak there. Takes 6. Ooh, knight g4. Little fork there.
Ooh.
Threatening knight e3 check.
Ouch.
That is indeed what happened. 5 to stop the knight coming into e4, and then queen d6. So yeah.
So Black's exchange up.
E1 check, queen e7. Yeah. So this is looking pretty good for Black already. Basically the exchange up. I mean, White's got some play, but yeah, this should be good for Black. Stephen Dishman against Lanyao. This is quite big theory. This was Catalan theory actually. So I just noticed it just looking at the games quickly. So a6, castles, knight c6 was very popular at the elite level for quite a while. Then e3, rook b8, knight fd2, and e5. So White gives up the light squared bishop, but wins the pawn. Knight g4, knight takes c4, and I do actually forget what the conclusion was for this line. I think it was fine for Black. So bishop e6, knight d2, bishop b4. All sorts of pressure against the knight there. Queen c2, and then we go h5. And this was played quite quickly by both players, you can see. So this is all theory because yeah. I don't know whether h5.
I messaged Lanyao last night about the Alekines, and she was like, she couldn't believe how much theory her opponent had known on it.
Yeah. I mean, it's very easy for everyone to know theory. I mean, there are great courses, Chessable courses on so many openings, that yeah, if you really want to put the effort in, and know stuff, then it's really possible for everyone. It's not just the preserve of grandmasters or professionals anymore.
Yeah. He said he
I'm not
played
sure there's
like
a
a
course
grandmaster.
I'm not sure there's a course
Is
on
he
the
up
Morra
there?
Gambit though, Natasha.
Well, there's plenty of courses on the Morra Gambit.
It's there's not that many books really. There was one by Mark Esserman, I remember. I can't really think. There's a very old one by Janos Flesch as well.
There's
Which
many. There's my trends book, of course. There was the Graham Burgess did one or two. Can't remember whether there's one or two books on it. Yeah, there's quite a lot.
On the Morra Gambit.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So h5 played, b3, h4. It's quite dangerous.
Taylor's book is enough on dealing with it.
So knight f3 takes, queen e7, and yeah, I mean both sides have got a horrific pawn structure there. But
everybody likes
yeah, not quite clear whether the white king is going, but e4, rook h5, h4. I think both players were out of theory here. h4 seems quite reasonable, just to get a square on g5 for the piece, and also get this h pawn out of attack. Then black decided to liquidate. Still a pawn down. Rook e6, queen c4. You can't take on e4 here because of rook takes f7 check. Queen c5, bishop c5 check, bishop d4. Interesting.
Now then, can you?
So why wasn't king h1 played there?
Thanks for the follow, Thomas.
Quite sure. Oh, we're coming round with rook b4. That was the idea.
That's nice.
Cunning. So
black looks quite active, but is the pawn down at the moment?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Go queen c3 even. Oh, no, maybe bishop d4. Interesting. Very interesting position. White went bishop d4. Choppy. With rook e4, queen d5. I mean, I sort of have the feeling that I'd like to be black here, really, but just because that king, sort of think, oh, maybe I've got something, but actually, it's going to be a little bit difficult to do anything against that king because virtually everything you do fails to rook takes f7. So, rook d8. Obviously, there's rook f7 in this position. So it's
maybe we need to move the rook off pre, just like rook e2.
Rook e2. That is a good move. So what if I just go? I'm not quite sure. Rook c1. That might not be silly.
I was going to go if it doesn't lose anything, queen to e3 was my idea.
Yeah, I'll go king h1 simply. I mean, you've got to watch out for the threat against f7. That's kind of the point. Maybe go rook f.
All right, my next plan then. Wait. Is oh no, that's not going to. I was going to say rook b5, but you got queen a8, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, a move like f6 is probably going to be necessary some stage or other, just to stop that threat. Maybe you should just do it straight away, actually. And then just sort of see what white's going to do. Maybe go rook f5. I don't know. Move to h5. I mean, I'd rather be black somehow. I have the feeling that if there's going to be any tactics or sneaky stuff, then it's going to be on black side. But I imagine it's probably just about equal. But it's been a very interesting theoretical game actually. So quite good actually. We've got Thomas Villiers against Chris Ward. What was that? Oh, Natasha!
What have we got? What have we got?
Look what Tom did for you.
Mora Gambit. Excellent, excellent. Well, I'm not the only Mora fan because I've just seen David Wilson's writing a lot in the chat, and I know he likes the Mora Gambit as well. So we've got several Mora fans in the chat. So this is a treat. Oh no, but Christus is D3, which is always lovely to play against. Actually, I really like it when they do that. Yeah, okay, let's keep going. So Roxy bind sort of thing.
We've got a Roxy bind here.
Oh, he took with the queen. I always take with the bishop there.
I think he was expecting Chris to take with a bishop on c3. I think that was probably what he was afraid of or wary of, I'd say. So we shouldn't. I mean, if you're a bit wary of that, then you should probably have just taken with the bishop on d3 and not. Okay, queen takes d3.
Yeah.
Knight c6, knight f3. Bishop g4. Probably would have been better to go h3 normally in these positions, but rook c8, bishop f4. Chris already getting a little bit of play against the pawns there. Rook d1, queen a5. It's all quite a standard Maroczy, and then e5 from Tom. Ooh, that feels risky somehow. Just all sorts of things converging against that pawn somehow. So. But maybe it's okay. Chris went knight h5.
Okay.
E takes d6. E takes d6. That's not bad. I mean, the black's got quite a bit of activity here. So bishop takes d6, rook e8, queen d2, bishop takes c3. So Chris finally played it. B takes c3. And now the question is, do we have compensation with black? You would have thought so, but not easy to say. Knight f6 played, bishop b4 chasing the queen back, queen b6 and c5.
I would have left my bishop the other side of that pawn, I think.
Well, I think
if I was doing
worried about knight e4. I mean, you need something against knight e4. So
all right, queen f4 or something straight away. Is that legal?
Are you
going
pawn
c4 and
yeah,
all right.
Your bishop e2 and your
right, bishop d. Oh, bishop d3 then.
Bishop d3, yeah, but bishop f3 is happening.
Oh dear. All right.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not crazy about what Tom did, but because that bishop on b4 is really not so great. But on the other hand, it's keeping the whole position together. So
yeah. Oh, maybe Tom wants to put his bishop on c4 as well. His other bishop.
Well, he's got knight e4 and then went bishop d3 here. So now Chris is thinking. What is this position? I mean, I feel like black should be, fine really, but it's not as 100% obvious. I guess one idea that white's got is just to go knight d4 actually, just to, which could be a little bit irritating. So I was thinking about, the first instinctive reaction you have is something like queen f4, but I can just go knight d4, get out of any little tricks or anything, and sort of looks quite decent. How should we do this? It is not clear. I mean, I could just go rook d8 just to stop knight d4. It's not silly.
Rook d8.
It feels a bit. Somehow feels like I've lost the thread. That's. I feel like I've let chances slip somehow. But it's maybe not true. I mean, maybe I was just overestimating what the black position there.
G4.
G4 is possible, but we will have the old queen f4 to defend against that. So toughie. It's a toughie. I don't know. I get the feeling that that it's going to be very hard for black to make something of this at all. And obviously, got to watch out that white doesn't just consolidate his extra pawn as well. Interesting. I wouldn't have thought the white, but yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Let's have a look. What have we got? Gary Lane against Nigel Birtwistle. Ooh, that looks a bit awkward for white. Actually, so
equal material. This bishop, right? What are we doing with this bishop on?
It might even be winning, right? No, I guess we should go rook. No, I guess we should go rook.
No, you've got bishop takes d4, haven't you? Oh no.
Well, no, d4. I've got rook a3, so that one's
3. But then you said, oh yeah. Okay.
But I mean, I could just go rook a8, and yeah, the irritation remains somehow.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. This looks quite. It's not pleasant because I mean, yeah, knight c2, you go rook c3 or something, and I'm sure this is going to be quite unpleasant for white. I mean, we've got bishop a4 coming in, so it's going to have to be rook b3, I think. I don't think you're losing anything, but yeah, this is this is quite an unpleasant position for black. It's not really.
You could even go. I'm going to say. Yeah, that's fine. That looks good. But you're threatening loads of things now as black.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just put the onus on white and just say, well, sort it out then. You know, maybe you're going to have to give up the 2 bishops like this, but potential for this going wrong is quite high, I think.
But even like, yeah, bishop b4. What about bishop d4? That takes. That, oh gosh. Takes there. Take on e4. That's just equal.
That's just equal.
Yeah. Okay.
Gary has gone rook b3. So,
yeah, he had to.
It's going to be tough. Going to be a tough one, that is. But yeah, certainly not any. Yeah, very nice position for black, I think. Oh, whilst other people are still. Does that really say that Jack had 1 hour and 52 minutes left at the end?
Oh, good grief, Jack! You played so fast.
So looks like Jack has won there. And,
yes, Jack often comes on the stream after when he's done. So
fantastic.
Maybe he will.
Let's have a quick. What was the opening? Oh God! It was this one. It was this pawn grab. In the very risky pawn grab in the Trompowsky, and Stockfish played Queen d8 in this line, and Leela played e6, which was very risky. But Jack played Bishop g4, which I think was equally risky. But yeah, won the game in the end. Fantastic, well done, Jack. Katarzyna Toma against Oscar Polak. I think that white is teeing up on the king side. That would be my feeling.
Oh, those double rooks.
Look at all those pieces.
Would you sack on h6?
Not yet, I don't think. No. Not yet, but still, yeah, this is obviously looking pretty promising for white. Yeah. Let's have a look. Neil Bradbury, Janos Lentos against Neil Bradbury. This is looking well. Well, actually, a little bit better for white. I mean, he's going to pick up a pawn. Yeah, could be. But okay, I think black should be active enough to. Oh, e7. Okay, black should be active enough to draw this. It's should definitely be okay. Oh, actually, maybe you're even saving your pawn, actually, aren't you? Because rook e1, you go rook e5, and bishop e4, you've got f5.
Ooh.
Yeah, so you're even saving your pawn. So yeah, this is just going to end up in a draw, I think. So that's Bolkis against Gwilym Price. Gwilym started off with a really great tournament. Really playing very well against very strong players. How is he doing? Still getting 43 points gained. So he beat Peter, drew with Mark. beat James Jackson. My goodness, he was on 2.
Yeah, what a start.
And then lost to Keith, drew with Katarzyna, drew with Gary, and lost to William Claridge Hampson. So still excellent tournament. Here he's a bit worse against, I guess, but is it so bad? Kind of depends really whether white gets an f5 in or something, and whether that works. If that doesn't work, then black's actually just fine. So probably black is actually fine here. Just move bishop back, and probably there's no real breakthrough like this. Let's have a look. Hebs.
Yep.
3/4.
So he's level on material.
Yeah. Not great, I think. I mean, d4 looks quite interesting. Yeah, because if you take, I take here, I'm coming into c3 after, so I don't suppose you can do that. I'm just wondering then what would the plan actually be then? Maybe you can give a rook e7 check. Because if I go king d6, we could go rook h7. That might be possible.
Right.
Oh no! Rook c2 and bishop g6. That's kind of, that's ouchy actually. Oh, that's easy to miss actually. So d4. I can go c4, but that's that feels risky. I mean, even d3 actually is starting to make me feel rather a little bit afraid.
So,
actually, black's just repeating actually. So looks like check. Oh no, check. b2. So he'll probably go rook f2. Black. Actually, maybe this is just going to be a draw. Actually,
threatening bishop g6, isn't he?
Yeah, it's very tough to avoid that because if you go here or something, I just go check again.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark's had a rough time there, hasn't he? This tournament, but
yes.
Yeah,
he has had an extremely good year, though.
He's had a very good year.
Maybe one tournament doesn't matter too much.
No,
it will to him, of course, but yeah.
So look, that looks like it's going to end in a draw. I don't think Mark can avoid that. Okie dokie. Vianney Dominic against Martin Burrows. That's going to be a tough, old, long-lasting fight.
We'll come back to it.
We'll see that. It's going to be there for a while. Viktor Stoyanov against Peter Finn. Wow. Oh, it looks a bit more dramatic than I thought.
Peter's going down on the queen side, isn't he?
Yeah, probably. It's probably about balanced, I think. I'm not sure that black will really be able to make something on the queen side too much. But maybe you can go knight b3. It's possible. Maybe you can do that now. Now that white's put this king to f3.
Rook takes rook.
Takes.
And then can he go queen c4?
Well, I think it's fairly clear that he probably can't.
Oops. Can't.
You could go bishop e1. That's the key point. And I'm just wondering, is there any way? Well, knight c1. I want to go here and check, which might be, that'd be interesting. I don't know. I'm probably just committing suicide here. Queen c2 maybe. And I could go knight d3. Not sure that I'm just struggling to. I'm trying to make too much of it really. It's close. It's close. It's just a complicated position, but I imagine it's balanced. But oh, it's gone knight b3. So
okay.
We're going to see. But I would expect then, well, either bishop e1 immediately, or maybe rook d8 first and bishop e1. And then we'll see what Peter's got planned there.
Right. Do you need a break, Matthew? I'm going to just take a 2-minute break.
Well, that's maybe not a bad idea. Yeah, because we've been going.
Conserve our energy So for the time scrambles. Okay, we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Don't go away. Hi there. We're back.
Oh.
Hello. Shall we look back at the top boards?
All right then. Oh, we've seen that Richard Pert has drawn with Keith Arkle.
Okay.
Look there. Just have a look how that went. So rook h8, rook c1 takes, king d7. The draw was agreed here. Okay.
So there could be a lot of, like, if the other two games, if they drawn, we've got a lot of players at the top.
Yeah, there definitely could be. Let's have a look. How's this one gone? So we left it at queen e2. And Nick played knight f8. We looked at a lot of possibilities here. Knight c4 played. Oh, and knight 6d7. So yeah. So Nick didn't try anything like b5. He went for knight 67 and f4 from Matthew. Wow.
F4.
Board
okay.
on fire.
Now wait. So f4. What if you take it?
I guess here. I guess
g7. Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, unless there's something you've got something
amazing, yeah,
planned against it, it's not really gonna do the biz.
No.
So f6 played, and taking on e5. Oh, and g5. So really going for the big undermining there. So yeah, really sharp. G5. Interesting. So black played b5 here. So it was really all happening. Always, whenever you see this, of course, the first thing you're looking at is to take on here. But I guess that this is going to be sort of turned out okay for black. Although,
oh gosh, it's complicated. What about take on g7?
Yeah, it's not 100% clear to me what's happening there.
I suppose you better move the knight.
Well, I mean, there's rook d2 as well. That's possible. I'm a bit worried about moving the knight because I'll end up moving into a pin. I don't really want to go knight d7, to be honest, because that sort of cut. Well, I don't know. Feels like it cuts everything off, but it might not be. You are threatening c3 at some stage, so probably white doesn't have all that much time. Maybe it's okay. Maybe it's just okay. But
hang on. Stop. Go back to that position you had. So, what about? I'm going to say queen c4 check.
Ooh.
Knight takes, and then knight h6.
Checkmate. Wow. That is amazing. Yeah, that is really working. Very nice. So, yeah, maybe I need to go knight e6 check then. Knight e6 rather.
Yes.
It's a little bit worrying. And when I go knight h6, you get king takes t7. Maybe it's not so bad. Maybe it's. I mean, we could do your queen c4.
We'll try it. Yeah, exactly.
We've got bishop f5 then, unfortunately. That's the.
But then you take on e5.
Queen e5.
Take on f5. And then you swap queens. And that's the end of that.
Well, f6, but yeah. King f7, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Probably not enough. Feels like, but yeah, obviously a little bit tempting there. I mean, there's also ideas like, yeah, knight g7 even, but no, not sure. Probably not good enough in principle. So Matthew took on b5 anyway. Then he took on e5 and played rook d1. So yeah, still very sharp position. I mean, both sides are a bit loose. b5 pawn, e5 pawn for black, and c2, and also there's these squares like knight f4 or whatever. So knight e6 played, takes, queen b5 played, now knight d4. Knight d4. I don't think that was really what Nick was intending, to be honest. I can't believe that was what Nick was intending, really. Because after knight d4 takes, and king h1. I mean, I mentioned that if you go queen takes c2, queen takes c2.
Yeah.
Queen takes c2. Why not queen takes c2?
Queen takes c2.
That's not very clear. Why can't we do that?
d5.
Sorry?
It's all right.
Well, if you go bishop d4, then I go bishop e4. That was what I'm... Which is just rather... I can't imagine that white's better here. In fact, I would have expected white to be quite a bit worse, really. There's a lot is hanging. But maybe... pardon me. Maybe I can go queen b6 here.
Okay.
Is this sneaky?
Could be, couldn't it? What happens after queen b6, says David Wilson.
Ah.
Haha.
Great minds thinking alike.
Mm.
It is actually a little bit of an irritating move. I'll give you that. Because bishop e7, there's queen e6 check.
Yes.
Yeah, you move the rook, you're taking with the queen on d4. That's a really sneaky move.
Looks good.
Well, what you could do,
yeah,
is to go queen c8.
Queen c8. Oh, that covers d8 and d6.
Yeah, and if you go bishop d4,
yeah,
then I'm claiming I can go bishop e4, although I'm not completely sure about that claim.
Tell me then if I go bishop e4. Are you going queen h3? I'm going
King g1 and queen g4 check.
Right. I've got to try.
This is just working, actually.
Yeah.
So queen c8. Hey, you've got to go bishop d4. I mean, because there's moves like bishop c3. I mean, I don't see that white's position is better if you don't do this, but if I really do have bishop takes e4, then it's just perfectly fine for black. The only other thing I could think about would be to go rook c1, but then I go rook c1 maybe. No, I could go bishop c3 maybe. I mean, you do something like this. I can always shove in something like bishop e4, which would be quite tricky. Check. Not 100% sure, but I kind of expect this to always be a draw somehow.
Thanks for the follow, Amka.
But or I could go queen e8 maybe.
Queen.
I'm not sure. No, not sure. Maybe rook c1 is still a little bit tricky to deal with. Weird somehow. Wouldn't expect this. Maybe queen d7. If rook c7, I go queen d6. That would be quite decent, I think.
And then rook c6.
Then I must be doing right, surely. Oh no, sorry. This one's going. This one's hanging.
Curses. Yeah.
Curses. I guess I could go back to d7. d5. Surely wouldn't be good. I don't know. It's quite complicated, but I'm a bit surprised. I would have thought that queen c2, should be good enough, really. But Nick's played it maybe a bit safer.
Takes 5 and they've swapped. Yeah.
d1, bishop b6, rook d1, king f7. Maybe this is just better actually, because the black king's quite active now. Rook d3. But I guess we go king e5 now.
Yeah. Is Matthew just happy with the draw now?
Maybe. Might well be the case. e5. Yeah, I mean, maybe you should with white. You should just be happy with a draw here. Actually, it's possible. But no, I think probably what Nick did was more sensible. That was just swapping off the queens and just playing on white's weak pawns there. Yeah, still some way to go, but it looks like probably a draw is most likely in this position, I think.
Kevin's asked what happens with the big tie. Now, I anticipated that question and have emailed Nigel. I did that just in the break, but I haven't heard back yet whether it is a playoff, and if so, what time that happens tomorrow.
Let's have a look how Harry Grieve is getting on against David Eggleston. So we were quite interested in this position, and well, we got b6 here.
We liked this for white, didn't we?
Well, we didn't look at this specific one, but
okay.
But yeah, in principle, we quite like white. I've just noticed that, well, actually, c6 was what I was kind of thinking.
Yeah, we looked at b6 and just above, didn't we? But a different.
Because e5, we were going c7. Not sure. Harry took on b6, at a4, which is also quite sensible. Rook d6, and then g4. Ooh. So yeah, this should be a little bit better for white actually. I mean, we're holding this one back, and the king's safe now, and we've got some pressure on b6. So yeah, probably quite a sensible decision there. So rook d8, rook c7, rook a8, rook c4. So we've got a little bit of shuffling. h3. Not easy to make progress though. Oh, rook b5, ab, queen b7, queen c2. So f8, queen e4, rook b8. Yeah, sort of. Yeah, I mean, white's a little bit better,
white, doesn't it? It really looks nice for white.
It looks nice for white.
Wait,
but
you could probably do 4 pawns for the knight if you wanted to.
Yeah. Well.
Are you convinced by that?
Not really. So I mean, if you're thinking of knight takes e6 here.
Yeah. That was the
queen f7.
Yeah. Then we take b6. Maybe it's only 3.
Yeah, it's 3.
It's 3. 4. Okay, 3. Nearly 4.
Afraid Harry hasn't done it. He's gone knight e2.
Okay.
So
to do that, we can do that. He's going to come to g3 and h5, perhaps.
Yeah, or f4, h5. Yeah, one of the two. That's quite nice. That's quite a good plan. Yeah, I mean, he's going to keep on grinding this one, I guess, and in principle, should be quite good chances. I'm not quite sure what the exact objective objective assessment is, but yeah, this is I mean, definitely you'd feel under pressure. You're going to feel under pressure here, and the white king's safer than the black king, and yeah, but I'm not sure really whether it's actually bad for black somehow. Really bad, I mean.
Yeah.
But okay, knight f4.
Four.
Yeah, a bit more time as well for Harry. Still 8 moves to make with 3 minutes. Yeah, quite pleasant position to be in for.
I think Harry might win this, I think.
Yeah, he's got a good chance. That was a draw. That was a win. Let's have a look. How did this game continue? So knight d3 was played, h6, bishop b2, rook c8. So yeah, I mean black's doing quite nicely actually. I think black's teeing up to press just a little bit.
Yes.
But bishop f3, but white's solid, so it's not really.
So Matthew, actually, who's your tip for the championship at the moment?
Sorry?
Who do you think is going to win the title this year?
I've really got no idea. Absolutely no idea, I have to say. It's just completely up in the air, I think. I have to have a look at the scores after this round to see, because
after this round, yeah.
I think Nick's just is in general the strongest player, so, and he's going to be really totally in the mix. So but depends really whether Harry wins or not.
Depends on Harry. Yes, if Harry wins this game, then he must be favourite because he'll be in the lead. It's tough going into the last round with half a point lead, isn't it?
Yeah, no, of course, but it's better than being half a point behind. That's
yeah.
But let's have a look. Takes GF. Yeah, with just basically things of e5 f5. Interesting. Oh god, it's just got all random now. Check. King c3 played. Rook there. Rook b8. My goodness. Just completely random. That's how it goes sometimes. So can white do anything here?
So,
in principle, the king's reasonably solid on b4, but
you've got to watch out for the black knight coming round. I know because everything's tied up. So
yeah, everything's tied up really.
It's all right, but you don't want to move the rook because c2 will hang. So you really only got the bishop that can move, to be fair.
Yeah, there's not really much that you can. I mean, I suppose. I mean, what you really want to do is to, you'd really like to meet rook c8 with b4, but unfortunately, rook a3 check picks up the bishop. So maybe what you should do is just go bishop g or bishop f2. I'm not sure, one of the two. Bishop g. Let's say bishop g1, and then claim that you're going to do something. Even then, I mean, you could have a rook a3 takes f3 afterwards. I'm not quite sure. But okay, just go bishop g1 and then see what black's got. Because black's got to find a move as well.
Yeah. What if black bishop c? I know rook t7 or something. You can't move those things. You can't move the bishop. You can't move the knight.
Rook to b6, maybe. I mean, at some stage, maybe white play c4. Is this going to be possible?
Thank you, Badger.
Possible. It's quite fraught, really. Always with these things, you're sort of thinking, what am I actually achieving by doing this? It's which I'm not 100% sure of, but yeah, a bit tough. Yeah, I mean, I think White's got a few things that White can try, just to keep the game going. But it's I'm not. I don't think he's. I don't think White's better or anything like that. I think it's just.
Yeah.
I don't think that Black's got enough firepower to do anything much more, really. So likelihood is that this one will end in a draw, but. Let's have a look. Ezra Kirk against Adam Taylor.
Adam Taylor with not much time left.
No, indeed, and a slightly better ending for White here.
Oh yeah.
Just with the queenside majority, it's slightly better.
You'd have to take this pawn, I guess, and be.
Yeah, I'll go knight b3. I think probably knight b3 is probably what we do. It's a little bit better for White, but in principle, obviously Black should be able to defend that, but not going to be easy with not much time on the clock. You need to take some big decisions. Well, you need to be a bit lucky, I guess, with some big decisions that you need to take around now. Nigel Davies against William did play rook d6, which was a good move. Knight b4, knight takes e6, knight d3, knight g7, knight e1, king f2, takes. So we end up in a rook ending where
pawn up. William did quite well to get to this.
William did very well. Oh, okay, takes. What happened there? h3.
Well, we're now in a king and pawn ending.
Cool. e5.
Right. We should be able to work this out, right?
Now this is just winning for White. This is just
what with g5. Well, king
c4, a4, and then g5. Oh no, wait a minute. a3. No, that's drawn actually. Quite far out there, quite far outside the circle there. That's quite weird. King c4, a4, g5, a3. Now you're too slow. You're too slow. I think I thought that was Thought that was going to be. Thought that was going to be a win, but that's actually looking just like a draw. Then king c4, a4. So yeah, there's no way to do that. But okay, not no good. William gave it a good go there. Really made it.
So you couldn't go king c5. That would just be.
No, you're too slow. I think. a3. You're going to queen after. So.
First, right. Yeah.
And then, well, whatever. I mean, it's going to be a draw.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's have a look. This one was quite interesting.
Material imbalance.
Queen d2 played, not bishop takes a6. Queen d2 played, d4 and rook b3. So this was a lot calmer. But okay, still quite a nice initiative because the black king side's a bit weak. But I've got to say.
Everything's dependent
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's I mean it's two pawns really as well. So I'm sure. Well, I don't know. Maybe bishop a6 wasn't the best. I don't know, but I'm sure that you had more than this. I think I would have thought. But okay. So what have we got? What have we got here? We've got quite a few moves have been played. F5, e4. I mean, black's still quite loose. That is definitely true. So I guess that white's still got an initiative. But knight d7, knight f6, king d7, knight e8, h8, knight d6. All that knight dancing around.
Quite nice this knight. We want to get the queen in though. Queen, don't we?
Yeah, it's not.
h5 maybe.
Yeah, this is looking very promising again, of course, but not totally easy to see how to finish it off. I mean, you could go.
Got to be Queen H5, surely.
Well, I mean, I could play Bishop takes F5.
Ooh.
Because obviously, if you take there, I can take there. And after takes, I've got Queen takes D4 check.
Yeah.
The only thing that's worrying me slightly are moves like Bishop B6, which I'm not 100% sure about. But anyway, let's just ignore that for the moment. And after E takes F5, I could go Queen D4, King G8, and Knight takes F5. If you got Knight F5, I've got Queen D5 check, and I pick up the Knight.
Yeah.
So that would actually look to be winning in principle. The only thing I'm wondering about is, all these extra moves that you might be able to play. So let's say Knight takes F5, Knight takes F5, Bishop B6, for example.
Yeah.
Because if I go Knight D4, Rook D8, I seriously doubt that I'm getting out of that pin.
Yeah, that's terrible, doesn't it?
So then the question is, do I have something
You have
clever?
to go Knight E. Oh, Knight E7, we've got D3.
It's not very clear. It's not really very clear.
All right.
Well, I've got Knight E7 and then Queen H5. That's
Knight E7, D3.
Yeah, King F1. I mean, I'm threatening Queen A1 check now when you go D3. So that is actually slightly worrying. I mean, I don't think you should be going D3 yet, but Bishop E4, and then I was thinking about Queen H5.
Yeah. Queen
E5 coming in. I could go D3 now and go Bishop D4 maybe to cover.
This looks good for black to me.
No, it's very unclear. It's not really not quite what you're looking for, really. He's gone Queen H5, which is maybe a bit more.
That was what I wanted. Sensible. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna have to see
how it goes.
There are quite a few lines. I mean, if you went something like Knight G6,
yeah,
could even go Knight F5 here. Takes and takes.
Yeah.
Because if you go Bishop F7, for example, I just take and go Queen E5 check and fork you here.
Nice. So you just go Knight F8?
Yeah, I want to go Bishop takes H7 again.
Okay. This is...
I'll have Queen E5 takes B8 and you're pinned. I don't know. I mean, if you did something like, you could go something like this. Here or something. Which I would have thought with those connected pawns that you're doing quite well, but I'm not 100% confident. Knight G6 has been played, so...
right, so we're looking at Knight F5, we think.
Well, no, I think maybe you should probably just look for something a bit more sensible. Because the black pieces are really badly coordinated, so he's gone Knight F7. Not sure about that. Not sure about that. Wanted something a bit more oomphy, really.
Mm.
But who knows? Only all the stuff I'm doing is really, really risky.
But there's more action in the Harry Grieve game, by the way.
Okay. I mean, all fairness, actually, after Knight F5 takes Bishop there, Knight F8, I could just play bishop d3 actually. And I've got the dual threat of queen d5 and queen e5 check.
Yeah.
So I sort of suspect that this was winning, to be honest, knight f5. But okay, but let's go back to Harry Grieve. Whoa! Oh, I wondered about this. I thought Black was going to do this and try and activate. Knight f6. He's made to move 40 now. They get extra time, don't they, after move 40? I think.
Yeah, they get, I think, half an hour. Plus, they still get their income.
Okay. Oh, knight h5. That was very quick. That would have been the moment I would have spent to.
Oh, he's not just going to force a draw, is he?
He might do. He might do. Maybe. I'm not quite sure what the danger is.
Yes. What's the? So okay, Black must be threatening some kind of mate. Now, Black's threatening queen h1, for example.
Yeah, I mean it's not really mate. I mean, actually, maybe isn't. I think maybe isn't queen e5 just winning.
A queen e5 wins now because.
Yeah. Just winning queen g7 now. And there's no checks. There's no checks. Oh, right. Queen g1. There's queen g1.
Queen g1. Right. So you would want to go king f3.
Let's have a look. So king g8 has been played. So is this move queen g1 that's really a bit annoying? Interesting. But what if I just went queen f4 then? How about that one?
Queen f4. Threatening.
Yeah, it's not. I don't have necessarily a massive, enormous threat already, but I'm covering everything, and yeah, I've got all sorts of
an average size threat.
I've got all sorts of thingies that I can do.
Yeah.
I mean, if you do something like this, then I can go round to h4. I'm covering the f2 square.
John Levitt's not impressed. Looks all right, though, doesn't it?
No, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure about queen f4. Should have something better than queen f4.
Okay.
Queen d4. It's just this queen g1 check is really annoying. Can't seem to shake it. Oof. Or should I? Yeah, I mean, of course, the thing is, queen h1 check is, well, it's not even winning the queen, of course. So, I mean, maybe I can just go. Maybe I can.
Oh, because you've got the 4 at the end. Oh, maybe that's what you meant to do. Just, yeah.
Just ignore it, maybe.
Right. So Harry now is letting his clock run down, and
yeah.
And we'll have a think.
I mean, yeah. I mean, maybe you should just
spring a chess queen b4 on move 38. Apparently, would win.
Okay. I mean, yeah, b6 is also not totally stupid, but I'd like something a little bit more where I have the feeling I'm making more of a threat, really. Tricky, but I mean, I guess the point is that let's just make sure that this is correct. That here we go king g3, and well, yeah, we've got to be a little bit careful, but probably all right, because check king g7, knight e4, f5. Of course, I've got to watch out for a fork here. I can go rook d7 check, so that is perfectly okay. The question is, do I have anything else here that would disrupt this perfect world?
John now likes queen f.
Well, rook g1 check, queen e4 check, king g7, bishop e7 check feels like an element of risk.
Feels a bit scary, but you can go king. I'm a bit worried about. Yeah, I'm worried about that. Maybe g.
Okay, I could go g5. But yeah, it's a little bit. You sort of think,
it's all right. Yeah. Try queen f4 again. John Levitt likes it now.
Queen f4. It's a decent idea. I just, Okay, let's just see. If I go check, and then just do something like rook.
Okay, do we have a threat? Yeah.
Just rook a2 maybe. It's not so terrible, is it really? I mean, if I go, I can even think of going b6 then.
Rook f2.
Well, if you go rook f2, then you're blocking all your stuff. So then I just go queen d6. That's the idea. I could go, if I went queen f2, b7, rook b2. I mean, I can always go check and then here.
Yep.
But the problem is that he goes rook b7 here, which is really embarrassing. That would not be working.
So just go knight d7 then.
Sorry.
Can we?
Well, I think that knight d7 will meet with bishop e7 check. And after here, bishop d6 check.
We don't like that. No, we don't like that.
Something like that. I'm not 100% sure about it. It's just that queen f4 is fine. It's just that I'm just struggling to. I want to have a threat.
Rook a4 not b22 c3 Sicilian. Was rook a4 not working?
Rook a4 in this position here. Rook a4. I vaguely wondered about it, but I thought I was maybe just being a bit of a drama queen.
You do not want to be a drama queen.
Maybe queen g3. And if the queen moves away, then I'll get something like queen d6. I'm not sure. And if you go queen d1, then I go queen e5 and get in here. I don't think it's working. Maybe queen f4 is a good move, but I just like to have something a bit more oomphy against rook a2.
What's the threat?
Well, queen f2 check. Queen f2.
Queen takes.
So if takes, I'll go. Okay, and you just want to go knight g3.
That's what I want to do.
Well,
simples.
Simples. Yeah, no, that's very good. That is very good.
Thanks for the follow. Great game.
So maybe queen f4. Maybe this is just a good move. Actually,
Says
then we're claiming that my threat is just
not enough.
We're just claiming that my threat is queen h6. Then that would be the claim.
Yes.
And then we can always block. All right. Fine. But do we have anything else, Natasha? That is le point. I really do want to do something dramatic.
Great game saying knight f6, queen h, king h5 is unstoppable, mate. I guess once we've got our king to h4.
Knight f6, king h5. Oh, that's very nice. That is very nice. That we were saying check, dong, 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 dong. Saying knight f6 check and king h5.
Oh,
queen h6 to follow. That is very nice. That is very gorgeous. And maybe queen f4 is just the good move then. Certainly connects up with dark squares. That's which is obviously a positive point. Yeah, I don't really see what can be done there. The only thing that might, so if I go something like, well, yeah, but then it's not really. I'm trying to tempt you into doing stuff, but I think even after if rook a4, you could just go queen f3 or something even, and I mean you're just 2 pawns up and just winning basically. So yeah, I think queen f4 is a good move then. I think, and that looks like should be a win. I think. All right, that would be a big one for the standings there.
That would take Harry into clear lead.
Exactly. Has Harry played Nick yet? Or yeah, they have played already, so already a draw. So
they drew. So he hasn't played. He has played Keith. He hasn't played.
Hasn't played Matthew.
He has played Richard. Hasn't played Matthew Wordsworth. Okay.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I mean he's played a good field already, Harry. So I think half a point against the field he's played. That would be that would be pretty impressive. All righty. Not many results actually. Let's have a look. Oh, Ezra Kirk has beaten Adam Taylor. That was just always nasty knight fork at the end. That was always going to be tough with no time there. It was just going to be tricky. But a bit of a shame for him there because he'd almost made it to the end of the time control, and then instead of playing f6, played knight c6, allowed knight g5. So hard luck, Adam.
Women's is going. So I think Lanyao is at the moment half a point ahead of Kata, and Lanyao earlier looked quite level, and Kata maybe had the advantage. So.
Let's have a look. Let's have a little look then. So we go down. Yeah, that's a draw. Lanyao has drawn against Stephen Dishman there. Okay. So that was kind of expected. Yeah. And Kata is playing Oscar. Well, she was. Oh, good lord! Wow. Oscar's managed to get his kick all across to the queen side. That was yeah. But yeah, I mean, in principle, white is just winning, but it's probably going to take a little while to get that done. But yeah, in principle, white stands very, very well here.
Okay, now I've got an answer from Nigel. Yes, there will be a playoff if tied. consisting of 2 up to 8 players, depending on how many are tied. We will do a prize giving for the ones we can award while the playoff is being set up. Don't know if there'll be a playoff on the women's or not. Knockout format, rapid, then blitz, then Armageddon. Likely to start 1.5 to 2 hours after the last game finishes in round 9.
Oh my goodness me! Wow, that could be yeah. Although probably you're gonna how many players are going to have tied? Maybe not more than 3 or 4. I would think, but still, yeah. Wow.
Exciting, yes.
My goodness. Let's have a look through the games that have not had a result yet. So start off with Matthew Wadsworth on top boards. We have Bishop H5 played. Okay, not King E5. Might have been missing something. King G3, Bishop C5, Bishop F3. Wait a minute.
I had been assuming this is a draw, but of course it's still going on.
Yeah, Bishop E5. I mean, this should end up as a draw, I think. Oh, it looks like they're maybe going for a little repetition there. Yeah, I mean, black's very nicely centralized and weaknesses for white as well. So I'm assuming that this one is going to be a draw and that both these players are going to be on 6 out of 8. So Harry, we think, is winning. Queen F4 played. Well done, Harry. So we think that is absolutely winning. Excellent. Then we've got Brandon Clark against Jonah Willow. C4 played.
This game with all the pins.
By Brandon. So Rook A6.
That's a brave move, C4. Yeah.
I was wondering about this one. Takes. Rook B6, Rook A1. And what is happening here? It's a big old mess. Actually, maybe this Rook A1 is quite nasty all of a sudden.
Okay, threatening Rook A7.
Yeah, that's quite unpleasant. Oh, I think, well, if I had to guess, I'd say that white is just much better here.
What about Rook B4?
Yeah, we'll just come back, I guess.
We don't want our king there because otherwise we could take this knight off and take on B3.
That is indeed true, and yet, for all that, your king is on E7.
Yeah.
So maybe we should play King E8 just to avoid the. But it looks a bit nasty somehow. But maybe it's okay. Although. Yeah, as well. Let's just have a look at the variation. Oh, so Rook A7, Chickaroony. I'm not quite sure. Let's say go back here. Choppy, check, and then maybe I come back here again. You could go Rook B7. If you go something like Rook A6, I've got Knight G5, which covers all these squares. So, okay, so King E8. King E8 is the move that we want, I think. Just get out of that attack. It's not very easy for white to defend this then. And then, yeah, Rook A7 looks crucial, but then check. We make sure that we take on B3 with check. Choppy, and then we come back to B7. And then the next move is Knight G5, keeping us safe. Okay, then black should be fine then, King E8. K1 was a bit scary actually, but King E8 looks actually quite all right.
Yeah. Does he have to do that?
Well, it's a bit hard for white to keep control now because we got Rook B. We got a definite threat here of Rook B4 check and Bishop takes C5. So, I mean, you can go stuff like Rook A3. It's just at some stage I start getting nervous about it and thinking, you know, am I really sure that what I'm doing with my pieces is white? You know, I'm keeping the game going, but
yeah.
you know, it's starting to get me a little bit worried. You know, something like check there and rook b5, and you know, all my pieces are kind of pinned and everything. So, but okay. I mean, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think black's fine after king e8. I think that's okay. But it's just finding it hard to think how white would manage to keep things going. I mean, maybe I went rook a4, takes rook b3, because then the capture hasn't been done with check. So white sort of gets an extra move, but still rook a7. I've got rook b7 to cover. Always got this knight g5 move. Yeah, I mean, I think black's fine. I think black's fine after king e8. That was a bit shocking. But looks like it's going to end up as a tough draw there. Oh, what's happening here? Oh, okay. So I thought that knight f5 was winning.
Oh, this one, yes. Queen h5. Here we go. And knight f5.
But knight f7 check has been played instead.
Okay, and he just
takes and h4. This is quite solid. But yeah, I don't know. I'm wondering now. I mean, are you gonna make a win of this? G4.
Right. He wants to take on f5.
Yeah.
Looks nice. But black will need to defend with knight f7, right? Knight e7.
Well, not sure. I mean, I could play knight takes b4, actually. Maybe.
Okay, knight takes there. Yes.
Maybe a bit risky. But we can go queen e5. I go king f7.
Oh, right. And f6 threatening check. But you can defend it, actually.
Yeah, I mean, if I go check, king e8 takes, I can take here, and I go rook d7.
Oh no, it's not. That's a different thing.
And I go queen c8 and f7.
Yeah,
but this is not. This is not. I don't know what this is. Oh, there's queen c7 check. There's queen c7 check. That's
nice.
fine.
Yeah.
But still. Yeah, maybe it's. Yeah, it's. I mean, yeah. Back's still very loose here, so it's quite tricky. But you know, what you worry about is that just somehow, because black's got some center of strength, really, you know, like with the rook and all that you just sort of think, well, maybe I can just run with my old king Aruni and then start, you know, hitting back somehow. I don't know.
Yeah. Although, right, white's got that h pawn. That's got to come.
Yeah. A little bit nervous about stuff, but yeah, maybe it's all good. But I don't know. I mean, you know, if you took the pawn, I can go knight b4.
Check. Queen g5.
G7.
G5. I want to go.
So king d7.
Then we better move the bishop, or it's going to get taken off. Yeah, g6. Yeah, and then I'm going to try and just queen. Oh, you're doing the same thing. Yeah.
I mean, white's definitely better. I mean, white's definitely much better. You know, because those threats are quite big. Because I'm a bit slightly nervous about it. You know, it's obviously much more difficult for. But I mean, I could even try bishop e4 here, for example.
Yes.
You know, takes, queen takes d3, and well, how are you stopping that?
I'm going to do it the other way around. I'm going to take on f5.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can take like this. I could even go here, even, I suppose.
It's pretty much the same, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think bishop e4. I think bishop e4. I don't, yeah. I know I've even got knight takes b4 coming as well. So you know,
Yeah.
I don't know. I do feel that White's missed a lot of chances here. You know, to put this one away. I think now that bishop e4 is going to be a bit worrying. I think. I mean, worrying in terms of White being able to win.
Maybe bishop e6, c4. Oh, then you're going d3, right?
Yeah, I'm just going d3,
I don't
d2.
like that. I don't like it. Okay, I retract that. That's horrible.
I mean, there's maybe. I mean, I could try taking on here, but actually, I think I'll probably if you do that, I'll take on here first of all, and then take on here. You know, just to make it really safe. So I was wondering whether if you did this, I could try this bishop c4 and then give a little checkeroonie here, maybe, which might be quite dangerous. Although even that, I don't know.
So what, queen g6?
Yeah, I wanted to go h5.
Yes.
I don't know. Even then, to be honest, here
Queen f6.
queen g7, d2. I don't know.
Bishop e.
Well, I've got mate. I think, haven't I? Oh no! Oh no! Oh yeah, I must have mate. I've got mates. So with queen g3, but I don't know. I mean, it's quite tenuous, really. But I think if you just go bishop c4 normally, I think I'll just swap off your bishop as soon as I can. And if you go bishop c4 normally, then I just go, even e5. I think. So I'm just going to get in d2. I mean, it's just really,
Yeah.
Even just go rook d4 in this position, and then just block you in that way, and go d2. So.
All right. Let's see how Harry Greaves going then.
Queen f4. Black's thinking now. So
very wise.
thinking.
Okay.
Let's have a look. We do have Max Turner against Nikolai Milchev.
Yes.
Just run through those moves. Oh, that turned out quite nicely for Black. Double rook ending. Being exchanged. Ooh, stuff getting a bit random. Ooh, queen c6. Oh, rook b4, g4, rook b7. Yeah, I mean, really, this should end as a draw.
Sure, right.
Rooks exchange, rook and fall. Oh, that was not good.
What's that?
You shouldn't let h4 happen. Not to make this one as a weakness. You should take on h5 simply.
Right.
So, okay, h3, h4. Because you're going to end up a bit passive, but maybe you're okay. Oh, maybe you're okay still. That was a little bit risky from White there, but okay. Still looks like a draw to me. Oh, Peter Wells and Dietmar Kolbers drew. Did they draw after? After.
Was his a draw in the end?
Yeah, this one was a draw quite quickly after we looked at it. Tom Villiers against Chris. How did this go?
This was the Morra Gambit. Oh, not quite a Morra Gambit. The Morra.
A lot of pieces got exchanged there. Yeah, this is about even still. But Tom trying to get his bishop in play. Oh, and succeeds. Oh, good lord. So suddenly this looks a little bit
threatening.
Could be dangerous for rook d5. Rook d5 seemed quite interesting, but Tom went queen a5, check. Queen f6, pawn up. e4. It's going to be a tough ask to win this though. Rook a7, h4, a4. We're just going to keep on attacking that bishop. That should end up as a draw, really. I mean, Black can always take the pawn on h4 if he particularly wants to. So, yeah, this is going to end up as a draw now. Probably Black. Is Black going to take on h4, maybe? And white takes on a6, and then we should have a draw there. So interesting game. Well played, Tom. Hard luck, Chris. Gary Lane drew with Nigel Birtwistle. Katarzyna is winning. It's going to be a bit of a long game. Black's quite well entrenched now, so and a king that's reasonably safe, so it's going to take a little while.
Yeah.
Although rook d8, isn't that a bit funny? Aren't we just going queen c5 in this position?
Uh-huh.
Knight d5 and queen a5.
Oh, yes.
That looks quite promising. Yeah, you've got to watch out your queen's not getting trapped. That's the only.
I got rook a8. Queen c.
Queen b. Well, I go queen b5. But well, it'll be quite tough to have that queen trapped. Let's go king c7, threatening rook a5.
Oh gosh.
What's happening there? Right. Well, yeah, you're going to have to hit the panic button.
Backtrack. Yeah. Okay. Rook a5.
Yeah, but then you got then you go knight c3 or something like that. Maybe. Oh, you know, then you go knight c3 and you go knight e4 and pick up the rook. Oh.
Yes. Gosh, counterplay.
What a weird trap. Rook d8.
It probably is a deliberate trap, isn't it? I suspect it is.
Although, actually, come to think of it, there's also. So look, is rook b6 possible in d5?
Oh my goodness. Okay.
I think we go to a6 with black, and I think we're fine. Well, are we? I go queen c5 then. And if you go knight d5, then queen c6 check is mate. Well, actually, queen b5 is mate. Quite unusual. So probably king a6 is not the move.
Not the move. Okay, so king
b7 must be b7 then. But this is a little bit worrying.
Queen c5.
Yeah, I mean queen c5 is obvious because knight d5 we get queen a7 check takes f7. But maybe we just rook d5. Maybe you're okay there. Check there. You're a bit slow with your old rook. You'd like to be a bit quicker, but it's still very dangerous, this actually. Balloonies. I wouldn't.
So this is a piece sack.
It's a rucksack, yeah. This one with rook b6. I mean, yeah, it's clearly black wants to put the knight on d5. I mean, that's absolutely clear. But this is really. I mean, in all fairness, wouldn't I just go? Just this rook on h3 is rather.
She could go d5 first. Then we just.
Yeah, knight takes d5. Yeah, I mean, you'd really expect this to work, but somehow we do have queen c7 here, which keeps it together. I mean, queen a5 is still quite dangerous, but yeah, I don't know. It sort of doesn't quite feel right. Because you sort of feel that the rook being on h3 and a bit passive here, it's just, you know, it's not gonna. That's sort of making me feel that the whole combinations won't actually work there.
Yeah.
Not sure. Quite a crucial decision, really. It's just this one's really. Just have the feeling that black probably will be able, since this guy can't get into play, you know, that black will be able to hold this somehow. Because I can't believe a queen and bishop, you know, it's dangerous, but I can't believe that a queen and bishop only would be would be sufficient to do that. Probably, I mean, probably, yeah, queen c5, knight d, rook d5, queen a7, king c8, and yeah, how do you bring this guy into play? Although bishop b6, come to think of it. Wow. It's really true. 6 check. King b7. I mean, king a6, queen c5 is just curtain. So king b7, queen c5. But maybe after rook d5, queen a7, I should just go to c6 then.
c6.
Because if I go bishop b6 now, then rook d7 is a little bit irritating.
We can't just go rook h1. Not here. I mean the previous move.
Well, it's just the bishop's covering b1, so
yeah, it doesn't help.
Okay, well, the queen a6 here would be still be quite dangerous. Oh my goodness me! This is weird. I find it really hard to believe that this should work, but it is actually quite dangerous. Definitely a lot of play.
Queen c5 has been played.
Okay, queen c5 has been played. That's the more obvious line. But so I guess knight d5.
This is the trap line. This is the trap line, right? Knight d5,
yeah,
queen
a5, and then we go rook a8.
a8.
So yeah. So if you go queen c5, I go rook a4 simply, you know, and you sort of think, well, you know, that's quite a good deal for black, really. So the queen b5, and now king c7, the threat of rook a5.
Yeah.
And I think this is quite tricky. I mean, if I go rook a2, you go knight c3. So, you know, that's obviously quite decent. Black's gone knight d5.
He's gone knight d5. I'm sure he's worked it all out. He's a young player, isn't he, Oscar? Yeah. I was going to check in on the other junior as well, but let's see this first.
Knight e4, knight d2. I mean, it's still quite unclear because white's got some threats and everything, but still, it is a total mess. But yeah, I mean, queen a5 has been played now, so yeah, we're expecting rook a8.
Listen, so rook a8, and then king c7 is a big trap. He's done it quick. He's definitely. Oh no, that's us. Okay, that's not him.
Queen b5, king c7 is what we're expecting.
Yes.
Unless there's something very clever and sneaky, then yeah, it's suddenly turned into a complete. No, queen a5, queen e7.
No, queen a5, queen e7 is not the trap. Or does it also trap?
Well, actually, it's not. It's quite sneaky as well. But no, it's not sneaky actually, because can't I just go queen c5 now?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's irritating, I think. Yeah, I'm sure rook a8 was a good trap there. But okay, it's I think queen c5 will be quite a good reply against that.
So I was going to check in on Arava against John Richardson.
Oh yeah, let's have a look. There. Oh,
I just looked up. He's born 2005, so he must be 17 or so.
So, well, I would have thought that rook f3 would be quite a nice ending for black. Actually winning, I think. Yeah, rook f3 seems to be winning, I think. Or is that true? No, there's something sneaky. No. It's winning. It's winning for black. You're just going to win one of those pawns. I mean, if you win the g3 pawn, then you've just got two connected pass pawns. Actually, I don't even think. Yeah. This is just winning for. I mean, I think maybe you can do this, but then I just take and h4, and this is just completely winning. So it looks like Aravamudan is winning there.
What about round
Top board?
Jonah?
Top board has drawn. Top board has drawn. So
Harry Grieve.
Harry Grieve is
against
yeah,
David Eggleston.
Yeah, so Queen F1 has been played, but I don't think it makes so much difference. I think we just go to G3.
And so the threat is still Queen H6.
Yeah. That's looking very strong. There's not too much choice after Queen F1. King H2, Queen G1 would be rather annoying. And obviously King F3, Queen H3 doesn't seem that normal, really. So yeah, expecting King G3.
Yeah.
Let's keep on going down a little bit. Were there any other games that we saw that were interesting? A lot of games results closed. Oh, we said this one was going to be a long one.
Oh, we're going to come back to that. Yes. Okay. Let's actually come back to it. Okay. So
no, it's still going on. It's actually Black's doing quite nicely here. I think Knight on B1 is very passive. Rook's attacking the A4 pawn as well, and the king's a bit weak. So yeah, definitely Black's doing quite nicely here, I think. So, but yeah, it's quite a long game. They've been moving, they've been shuffling quite a bit here. So let's see. That one's going to be a long one. I can feel that. Harry Grieve still thinking about his move.
No, has he played it? No.
No, he hasn't played it yet. No.
Not yet.
Yeah. Let's have a look. This one.
Or else he wouldn't still be thinking.
Rook B4 check and King E8 played. Okay, well, he gave a check first and then played King E8. But Jonah, that's probably, is that even stronger? Well, no, it's probably equivalent. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, it's a good move. So yeah, so this is looking yeah, tough fight still continuing, and but Jonah getting as good as he gets.
Yeah.
James, what's happened there? Bishop B4 played, and so Bishop B. Oh, good lord! Bishop B4 played G5, and then well, that does surprise me. Oh, played back to D5.
We were thinking just take it off, yeah, on D3.
But G5 we hadn't particularly looked at. It must be said. Let's have a look. Was James's idea to take like this, maybe? I find that hard to believe, but maybe. Well, it's definitely going to be sharp in that case, but possible, but very, very risky. But yeah, but Bishop D5 played by John. So well, yeah, it's not a bad move either. In fact, it's it's very solid.
So now, what if James comes in on H5?
Yeah, I guess Rook H8 is what John will do, just to hold it, really.
Yeah.
I mean, in the meantime, you're threatening Knight takes B4, I suppose. So
yes.
So actually, James has gone H5.
H5, yes. With the idea of G6.
I'm not sure. Really. It's just but there's quite a lot. I'm not quite sure now what Black's going to do.
Yeah. Maybe he wants Knight takes B4, Bishop takes F5.
No, well, Knight B4, Queen E5 check will be very dangerous, I think.
Queen E5 check.
So I'm not. Oops, sorry. I'm not quite sure. What is Black going to do now? On the other hand, if you just went king f7, for example, maybe you should go b5 actually, just to stop white. So I'm wondering whether James' idea is to go something like b5.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then try and swap off this bishop for this knight, and then try and get in. Might be something like that he's aiming for. So I'm just wondering whether b5 would be a good idea, just to stop that. And then afterwards, maybe play the king to f7 after, just to get out of this check. Then you're maybe starting to threaten stuff like, it's a really complicated position. This, it's, it really is quite random there. But I think maybe b5 would be a good idea. I mean, if you play b5, it also gives you some ideas of playing rook d6 and bishop c4, and where you give up the you get rid of that bishop, but without giving white access into these squares. Simply, I would have thought, maybe white's just going to move the king across now, just to be able to deal with this d pawn. It's it's a hell of a position. This really amazing position, but I guess white's still better. But yeah, what do we got? This is going to be a bit of a grind. Not the nicest rook and 4 versus rook and 3 to defend.
With the h3 pawn.
Yeah, it's really you shouldn't allow this. You should really just destroy that, and doesn't matter that your pawn structure is a bit ugly, but you don't want to let one of your pawns be. I mean, probably still is drawn, but it just the number of chances, extra chances that there are is. I mean, you can start thinking about going rook c2 check and then just sacking a pawn and coming in. It's quite tough to deal with, really. So yeah, I guess white probably will make a draw, but it's going to be a toughie.
We've had a few more moves in Harry against David.
King g3 played, queen g1, king h4, rook f1. Oh, they're going for our line in actual fact. So the best line now is this, what the chat pointed out, takes king h5. That is the best line. With unstoppable mate.
Yeah, very nice.
No, it's very beautiful, actually. I mean, I think there are probably other wins as well, but this is definitely the clearest there. So
if he gets this, Harry Grieve might be on for another game of the day.
Could well be, I think. Yeah. I mean, let's have a look. Let's have a look at the games. Just go through them. This was a tough game, but Pert Arkle as well. Ems Gormally, that's yeah. Clark Willow's quite a good game. Kirk Taylor. Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think that's definitely the best contender for game of the day. Pardon me. Unless you count Jack Rudd having 1 hour and 52 minutes at the end of the game. Oh, dear me. Also, Mark did draw that game. We thought that was happening. Sheila Jackson won her game to move to 3.5.
Okay. So she should be. I think she was a point behind the lead, wasn't she?
Yes. Katarzyna has got 3.5. In principle, winning you would expect.
No, she was a 1.5 behind because Lanyau's was half a point ahead.
Oh, Lanyau's got okay, yeah.
So she's 4.5.
Lanyau's got 4.5 there, yeah. So, but if Katarzyna wins, then they'll both be on 4.5.
Both on 4.5. They might play, I suppose, in the last round.
Could do. That would be quite thrilling.
Yes.
Yeah. No, and then for the rest, Bob Eames.
Bob Eames had a very good start.
I mean, after the start, yeah. Then he lost to. Had quite a tough run there, didn't he? He had Danny and Nick. He lost to Max Turner, again higher rated. Drew with Callum Brew, who's a little bit higher. lost to Tom Villiers, beat Thomas Donaldson. So still having a great tournament, up 23 ELO points, and obviously, a big couple of big scalps there at the start. So definitely a successful tournament for it. Harry Grieve, let's have a look. Is Harry going to find? Oh, good lord, sorry. Is Harry going to find that? Oh no, he's played Queen takes H6, which I think also wins.
Also
yes,
winning, right? Yeah.
Because Queen F2, we just go Knight G3. Although we're going to have Queen F6 check there.
Oh my goodness! So wait, is that's not winning?
No. Then we take Rook takes
King G5,
and actually.
Oh, just Queen to B pawn.
Oh, B6 is going to work actually. So I think, Oh, what a shame! That's a shame that Harry didn't see that. But yeah, okay. So Queen F6. Maybe there's is there a clever way to win this? G4, B6, B7. Just trying to think of a good, clever way to win this. Queen F6 takes. I mean B6. We go Rook F2. That's probably the cleverest way. We go B6 because if you go King G7, then I just go Rook F8 and B7, which just wins. So B6, I think, forces Rook F2. Well, E5 maybe, but then I go Knight F5. So Rook F2, I think, would be the only sensible thing. And now I can go Knight E4. Have I got a? I don't seem to have a totally. I mean, I could just go something like G5, maybe. And then I don't know. You go Rook B2. I go Knight H5. I mean, I just tie you up completely, basically. Yeah. I think that's probably good enough somehow. Some sort of win like this, and then just bring the king round. I go and then at some stage it's just going to be winning, basically. Yeah, I mean, actually, when I go G5 like this, I don't know, just say check somewhere. Then I can go B7. And then I can do this trick with this and this, because now the knight's protected. So
I know it's protected. Rook B7's nothing.
Yeah, that's right. It's just Rook G8 mate after, and then takes. I just go B8 queen and Knight D7. So I mean, something like this is just going to be winning for white. It's not as clean as the mate, but it's still very much winning. I think B6 is a good move now.
If he doesn't go B6, I mean, will it be winning whatever he does? Or
I think it will be winning whatever he does, but obviously, the more accurate you can be, the better it is.
Yeah.
And I think that B6 basically forces black to, not even to go after one of your pawns, So, and then, then I quite like. Trying to think. Knight H5. Knight H5 is pretty good then. So, you go Rook B2, and then I go, probably G5 is a very nice way. I think this is probably the most accurate move order. Because if F6 or something, I go G6. So, and then afterwards it's just a question.
Yes. Okay, Knight H5 played.
Knight H5 played. Okay, so if I go Rook F3, that was what I was slightly. I mean, I was just sort of thought that this was the black can get over to the B file and grab that pawn as well. I mean, maybe you're just going E4. That's also possible.
Will it be the first time? If Harry won the British, would it be the first time it's been won by someone without a GM and IM title? I imagine not, from long ago. There weren't any GMs, but
in recent times, yes, I would have thought so. But probably. Look it up. But maybe E4. Yeah, I think E4 is probably quite strong then in this position. But maybe f6 then. I don't know. We'll put it away in the end, I think. But it's just, yeah, that would have been so clean, that way of doing it.
Peter Lee, was he? Is he?
No, he's not. Yeah, he wasn't an IM indeed.
No.
Oh, John did play b5 in this game. Queen c2, rook h8. So, yeah, okay. So looking after this h5 pawn. I don't know. I don't know. I'm starting to wonder whether is white still better here, or starting to get a bit worrying from that point of view. I guess white can always somehow force a draw, but you could be a little bit careful.
So how's he going? He's going to come in Queen c5.
Well, you got to watch out because I'm feeling hg and rook takes h5 now. So
and maybe you need to go g6 first.
Yeah, that's a little bit. Yeah, maybe you do need to go g6. You're going to try and worm your way in to here, basically. So that is possible. I guess then that, I mean, I think you're just going to go something like rook d8 to d7, I think, then. With black.
Okay.
Maybe, yeah. But okay, maybe then it's... Okay, then I go... You bring your king in, sort of hold... I don't know. Yeah, I really don't know. I mean, it's... no, c6 will hang, so... Yeah, maybe this is still very good for white. It's just really very confusing. But I think g6 has to be played. But maybe it's a good move.
Very bad for Eggy, says B22.
Sorry.
Very bad for Eggy.
Yes, yeah. This is it's a very nasty ending. But oh, what's happened here? Rook f3, b6 was played. Oh, he just okay. He's gone for the same thing. He's gone for the same thing, but giving up a pawn, basically. You know, I thought b6 would save that, but this is gone.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm threatening. I've just got this knight f6 and rook f8 trick. So yeah, this is completely gone. So yeah, I mean, if we're looking at the final results here, then we're going to see that we're going to have Harry Grieve on 6.5.
Yep.
Nick Pert, Matthew Wadsworth, Keith Arkle on 6, and then a group on 5.5.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the question is, who's played who?
Who has played who? So we thought we worked it out, didn't we? So we thought it would be Eggy, not Eggy. Harry against Matthew Wadsworth, didn't we?
Yeah, and Nick against Keith, I think.
Nick against Keith, have they not played either? So there we go. So we can work it out for you.
Yeah, that should be it, basically. So yeah.
Exciting.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how the colours work out, actually, but because Keith had black today, and
he had a couple of whites. I have a feeling he had a couple of whites in a row.
Okay. Oh, he did earlier. That's right. Yeah, he had 2 whites in a row earlier. So that would be a bit sad to end with 2 blacks in a row against both.
Would be a shame, wouldn't it?
That would be a bit of a. That would actually be quite a tough.
Could, in theory, take either colour. Oh, against the 2 Perts. And oh no, sorry. And Nick is
due white. Nick is due white.
They're both due white, aren't they? So, but they just the higher rated then take the colour they.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's just that Keith has had. He's had 4 whites, 4 blacks. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
They both had 4 whites, 4 blacks. So it could be the other way. And what about the others? Harry has had 4 whites, 4 blacks.
Harry is due black, and Matthew is also due black.
Matthew has had 4 whites, 4 blacks. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've no idea how that one works out.
So if it's the higher rated, then Matthew would keep his sequence and take black, and Harry would get white.
Oh, that would also be a quite a nice double finish there with double white. But,
yes. Yeah. All righty. Okay, so shall we wind up then for this evening?
Yeah, I guess we can wind up there. That's I think the results are pretty clear now, and it's but yeah, I think game of the day, if we have to choose, then definitely Harry against David. I think that was a very interesting game all the way, and yeah, some nice play from David in the end there.
Yes, and tomorrow it'll be Adam Hunt and Jonathan Blackburn commentating.
Great.
And so I just want to just say, I know they will say it as well, but a big thank you to the sponsor Chessable for supporting this tournament, for all the organisers. It's been a really lovely tournament. I spent a few days down in Torquay myself, and it was really, really nice. Congratulations to people who've played in the event. I know there have been some very notable performances in a lot of sections. I just want to mention just a few of the juniors. I'm not going to mention everyone, so apologies if I don't mention you, but there's Badana has been playing just about every tournament there's been. She came second in the under 8s, and I think Zoe Veselo came third. And I wanted to mention, well, all the junior prize winners, congratulations to them. I wanted to also mention the Badachoni brothers, who won the, what was it, the Rapid Open. Kai Hanash, who we know on this channel as Ocean Chess Kid, who's been performing very well and also got a win against a FIDE master. I've now forgotten. We had a lovely session actually the other day. Michelle, who did well in the under 14s, showed her game to John Spielman the other day. If you get a chance to check, that was very nice. She played a lovely game. I'm now going to forget all the people whose performances I was meaning to mention there, but congratulations to lots of the players there, and also to the senior players. We've been seeing John Nunn's been playing well throughout in the over 65. It's great to see him playing. We had winners in the under 50s was Paul Motwani, who gave a lovely interview the other day, Phil Crocker and Chris Duncan. So congratulations to them. Matthew, tell me some others that I should be mentioning.
No, I think you've done pretty well, Natasha.
But I do want to say a big thank you to all the arbiters who have run the event very well. They work very hard behind the scenes, and lots of events there. Thanks also to Nigel Towers, the director of Home Chess, and his team, because also that is a stack of a lot of work. Thanks to everybody who've been watching. Thanks to people for their comments in the chat. It's really, really nice. Thanks, Matthew, and all the other commentators. And thanks all very much for watching.
Thanks very much, everyone.